365 Sports, good afternoon. I'm David Smoak, Paul Catalina to my left, Craig Smoak to my right. Good afternoon. We will take you up until around 5:30 or so, and we do have a one-on-one, three-on-one interview with Baylor's Director of Athletics, Doug McNammy. John McClain joins us earlier than normal, and expecting to hear from Dr. Lawrence Benz, Louisville's chairman of the Board of Trustees after their white paper that was released yesterday by the entire school. That and more. Appreciate your time here on 365 Sports. And Arizona takes care of business last night. They thumped Iowa State. They have won the Big 12 championship in dominant fashion, although a couple of hickeys when they lost a couple of games in a row to KU and Texas Tech.
The first, I want to say, 15 minutes of that game was just a clang fest. Nobody could really make shots. And then for a few minutes, both teams got hot. Iowa State comes back and ties it. And then right before half, it's like Arizona decides, go ahead and hit the run button. It's like they have one. Okay, boom, they hit the run button, and they were up by 10, 12, 14 and a half, something like that. And then in the second half, Iowa State never could really claw back.
Didn't they do that to KU twice?
Yes. Yeah, they have a button. I don't think anybody else has the button the way that they do, or theirs just works. And Tommy Lloyd just goes and over to the bench and hits the button, and then they go. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's a big deal for Arizona. Their first Big 12 championship men's basketball regular season title, and so that's a good feat. And I actually noticed before the show started, what's up, chat? What's up, everybody out there? I noticed before the show started that unless that was AI I saw, and it didn't look preposterous enough to look like AI right away, they've already hung the new letters for the championship for 2025. So I saw that picture right before we went on air, and that took them no time at all to add 2025 to the rafters. It appears, unless I just saw like I said, somebody putting that together ahead of time. But whether that's already in place or not, great win for Arizona, and just a really, really good team who finishes off what was one hell of a regular season and one hell of a championship run. And there's been a lot of good teams in the Big 12 throughout the year, but I think the steadiest, the wire-to-wire, the best team has been Arizona. And so, no surprise to see them hoist the trophy. Jaden Bradley's awesome. Krivas is awesome. And, they're going to make a lot of noise, hopefully, in the postseason. But this Big 12 tournament that'll be upcoming, that's going to be hellacious, I think. But the regular season title, that's really the conference championship in my mind. The tournament is cool and it's its own event, but the regular season title means that you did it against everybody a couple times over on some occasions, and you ran wire to wire as the pretty much the best team in the league, although there were some others that contended for that at times. And, great win last night, and able to kind of pull away and celebrate and have a lot of fun with that.
They had four players in double figures. Burrs had led the way, 15.5. Bradley, 13.9. Koa Pete, 13.3. Krivas, 10.8. And then three guys at 9.0 and better. So they are very well-rounded, very deep, and also they can beat you in different ways depending on who's having the big night. So there we are, Arizona winning 73-57. Craig, you mentioned this. Paul, they've been on a run. This is from Evan Miyakawa. Winning the game last night. This was after, remember, they lost to KU and then Texas Tech. Since that time, and those games were combined 7 points, they have now beaten, they actually beat 23rd ranked at the time, BYU, beat number 2 Houston, beat number KU, 14th ranked KU, and also last night number 6th ranked Iowa State. In all of that, they also beat Baylor, and they finished with Colorado. They are at a higher level, Evans says, than they were even when at one point this year they were undefeated.
Yeah, they took that first loss, took the second loss, and then after that, they've been fantastic, and they've been fantastic the whole year. And it's not like either of those losses were, oh dear God, what happened to Arizona? They were close losses. They were hard-fought games. They lost to Arizona, or they lost to Kansas and to Texas Tech. Both games down to the wire. Both games just gritty as hell. And that's how anybody who plays Arizona is going to have to beat them, because even if you get down, like in the first couple rounds of the tournament, it would be a crazy upset, obviously, if anybody beats them. But even if, say, they get down to the Final Four, the Elite Eight, that level, if they get there, whoever is going to beat them is not going to be able to run out on them because they just don't give up. They have those runs, 12-0, 19-0, 25-0 runs. The runs that you go on against them are like 7-0. Like, okay, we've closed the gap here. We're playing tight. They just don't let you really do anything.
Well, good job by Tommy Lloyd once again. I mean, he's been pretty money for them, doing a great job with that program. I believe it's 3 conference titles in the last 5 years for them. Obviously, the first Big 12 regular season title, as I mentioned at the top of the show. And obviously, as well, a lot of expectations to come, not so much with the conference tournament, although that's going to be a lot of fun to see how that sort of shakes out. But Arizona's established itself as, number 1 seed and a team that's very much in the national championship discussion, and rightfully so. They were number 1 for weeks and weeks, so good to see them finish it off. But I think more about the impact of the Arizona schools here early on. It's year 3 in the Big 12, and we all kind of wondered, how do these schools fit in and how does it all work ultimately? Who contributes? Who maybe takes away, maybe waters down some areas, although there wasn't much thought about like watering down, more about the gains you would stand to gain. And while we're waiting in a couple of areas for some of the 4 to 8 schools that have come along to kind of get to where you want them to be, there's been a bunch that have jumped up and have contributed. I mean, Houston in basketball and then football as well. Last year, a tremendous season. Arizona State making the playoff, giving Texas hell, winning the Big 12 football title. And now Arizona, and not just now, but Arizona firmly establishing itself. When you thought about what could be additive, you thought, okay, Utah football. Well, we're still waiting on that, quite frankly. But there was other programs. You go, okay, what could this be? Arizona basketball was at the top of the list. It was at the very top of the list of all these things you're adding, along with Houston basketball, I would say. And those two have more than delivered. They delivered this season, and hopefully they will in the postseason as well, because I think anything short of that is going to be massively disappointing for Arizona fans. As good as last night is, it's not the banner they're wanting to raise or the years they're wanting to add on to the totals of conference championships. It's that big prize at the end, but that was a big accomplishment and a great accomplishment for them last night against Iowa State, and something they should celebrate, and today they are. Yeah,
and then last year, remember, they got off to a rugged start in non-conference and eventually made a run into the third round before losing to Duke by 7 in the NCAA tournament to finish 24-13. They are very good, incredibly good, and Evan Mia saying that with his analytics. Meanwhile, Ryan Hammer, he made this comment: Arizona is crazy because they can be so average by their own standard, yet still look so dominant at the same time. Haven't been an Elite 8 team since 2015, Final Four in 2001. This has to be the year for them to perhaps break that seal. And they are playing, as I said, a lot of different guys can score and light it up for them. They're in the top 45 defensively. They're in the top 15 on offense.
Not that they can't just do this again next year, but I'm just going to go out there and assume that Braden Burries and Koa Pete will be gone next year and playing in the NBA. I mean, I don't know if I'm crazy to think such a thing, but they're both really good players that score a lot. So
I know you've been busy with the WNBA mock drafts, so you haven't had time for the NBA. But in all seriousness, no, I don't know where they fall. I mean, I was the one sitting here like 2 weeks ago, like I didn't even realize JT Toppin's not really an NBA prospect. Yeah. So I think that those guys are, absolutely.
And this is maybe the best early freshman class ever in the NBA draft as far as guys who are capable scorers and ready to go. But I don't think that they'll I don't think both of them will be back.
Here you go. From just Sam Vecini of The Athletic just today. He's got Braden Burries number 10 overall to the Chicago Bulls. He's got Koa Pete, number 11 to the Spurs.
What about Krivas?
And he's got Krivas at number 28 to the Cavaliers. So he's got all three of those guys as first-round picks.
So Krivas could conceptually be back because that lower part of the first round gets in that danger zone of where you could slip out. But they better do it this year, because it's hard to get back to that point, and they've got this team assembled that's so good. They'll still be good next year, but you do want to strike while the iron is hot. And there's at the top of there's a lot more teams than I thought 2 weeks ago that can really win this thing. This
How
year,
many?
I think there's like 12 or so.
I think Paul's trying to convince himself that Florida's not the team of destiny.
Oh no, I think that they've turned it on. I really went back after I said that yesterday and really looked at what they're doing, their margins, their stats, their plus minus, and I'm like, they're in that groove now.
Yeah.
And they
but you're right though.
Yeah, I mean they're in the groove. There's about 12 teams I think that could win this thing, and they are one of them.
Oh, yeah.
They're absolutely one of them.
Yep. And they'll always recruit well. It's a great basketball school. And right now they are Big 12 champions, and they go to Kansas City. Not this week, but starting next week, because they still have another game, the game with Colorado, to wrap up the season. And then speaking of Kansas City, this is from the new floor that was announced a couple of weeks ago. The new floor inside the arena that will host the women this week, the men starting next week. And it's that floor that we heard about that can change. We got it up, Brandon? It'll change a lot of different. Here we are. There you see the designs and the different effects that it has. So it even shows old highlights that are on the floor back in black and white days. So there's one of the angles. Blair Kirchhoff, by the way, had that. And then there's this one here, Rachel Galligan, who covers the women for the Big 12, showing that here's the court, different ways. There's a world map that they have on the court, too.
Oh, we can play Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego on it?
We can real-time the wars going on right
Yeah.
now.
Greg, you could sit there and do that song or that whatever you do where you name off all the countries with that map out there, too.
Yeah, I mean, you could do any number of things. It looks like you play video games on that court. You could, strategize a game of Risk or a game of War, or you could just name the countries. You could do a lot of different things. Watch TV on that thing. It's very cool. It's very cool, and that looks awesome. I wonder how it is to play on it because it is a bit of a different surface, but it looks like the ball's dribbling just fine, and they wouldn't have obviously
that girl was
installed
wearing
it.
heels and she didn't slip around. So
And she didn't crack the glass, obviously. That was kind of the big selling point is that it's like this glass LED thing. So obviously they accounted for that. But, yeah, it looks like a regular court but just super fancified, and see how they put it to use for these games coming up because there is a lot of cool stuff that it looks like you can do with that, as we've mentioned now. So, I like it. It's something that I didn't think you really needed to tease, just from like knowing how people take things like that nowadays. It's like you can't really afford to let people's imaginations run wild because they'll always disappoint themselves. I mean, that's just true, though. I see it with all sorts of things.
Yeah,
like, hey, there's a new movie coming out with Brad Pitt. I hope it's the World War II movie, and it's like then it's not, and you're like, oh, well, that's what I wanted. So I think, it's a really cool thing that probably got a little bit of shine rubbed off just because there's people like us are like, oh, okay, that's cool, instead of just being like, wow, but that's awesome. I mean, it's really cool. I think that, that could probably be I don't know what the costs are of it, but I think that's something that could, very much be adopted by other conferences in the future.
There's a company out there, the company that makes it that is going to use the Big 12 as their launching point of going to everywhere that has a basketball court and saying, here you go. And I'm sure there's like tiers of packages they have too. So that's what that's going to be. I think the big thing was Brett Yormark oversold it in the run up to it.
Right.
And he called it some big game changing announcement. And yes, he wasn't lying. It literally does change the way you're going to watch the game because especially if you're in the stadium, you're going to be able to watch that court in the stadium. So yes, it does change the game.
Well, you can
but
have commercials running on the court.
But it wasn't. It wasn't. Oh my gosh!
Here's one of the things about that court, and we're not going to show the video, but the picture? But did you see where if somebody was to hack it?
Yeah.
It was. It was rather interesting.
That could be problematic. I do think it was kind of cool to see that they're able. It looks like to put the typical court for a team on that court and make it look like their home court. I don't know if y'all saw that or not, but they're basically transposing.
Yeah, I saw
the
Baylor one that they
it looks like
overlaid
the home court. So that's cool. They can overlay something like that or however they do that. But yeah, it's really neat technology. I could see it being adopted by the NBA certainly. I mean, hell, it seems like it'd be a lot easier than just making brand new courts that you paint and move in and out for all your special events to try to spruce things up for your All-Star game or your mid-season championship that you're doing or whatever. So yeah, that's I would think in the long term, probably a lot simpler. Yeah, we'll see if that's adopted or not. But for these next couple of weeks, that'll be a really cool feature, and we'll see how they put it to use.
And how do they clean the court? Well, with a lot of different ways. They Windex sponsoring the Big 12 court, as they will be the official glass cleaning partner of the Phillips 66 Big 12 basketball tournaments and the glass floors this week and also next.
Well, you're going to need a lot of it, but that's a very much a Brett Yormark thing right there. That you can just, that's got Brett Yormark's name written all over it, or his people, and I guess you can do the backboards as well. So, they will need a lot of bottles of Windex for the size of that court, I would say.
I'm sure there's an industrial roller for that.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Some kind of cleaner where it sprays and then wipes
like
it
a
down.
Swifter?
Like a Zamboni, but for Windex.
Yeah, no, that's what I was waiting on. Go ahead.
Show the video.
Yeah, there it is. There's the cleaner.
There's the backboards, as I mentioned.
So Windex, which is a great product. I have a few of those bottles at the condo. There we are with that. And
you know why Windex is so good?
it looks so easy the way they were cleaning it with that little mop.
I'll tell you. And then we're not getting paying a dime by Windex, but we should. Windex is so good that nobody else, nobody says, well, you go buy me window cleaner.
Right,
you want Windex. And if you went and bought the generic brand, if I walked in and said hey, Smokey, here's some window cleaner, you'd be, what is this trash that you just gave me?
Yeah, the only thing I ever see really is car people use it was invisible glass or whatever.
It's a bit of a different thing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's mostly a Windex market for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wonder, Craig has never successfully attended the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City.
No.
One of these days we have to get him up there so he can finish that.
No, I want my memory to always be spending less than 24 hours in Kansas City, because I was there the day that Rudy Gobert tested positive for COVID, and the very next morning there was a panic at the airport. So yeah, that was my Kansas City experience. Less than 24 hours.
No barbecue.
No nothing really other than whatever restaurant was close by that I just got, because again, everybody's like, what's going on? There's games being canceled. This COVID thing, we didn't know what it was. They had no clue it was about to shut the world down the very next day that I got there. But that's what happened. That was my trip to Kansas City. Less than 24 hours in the start of COVID, and rushing back to Texas in a pretty sparse airport as everybody was just frantically running around trying to figure out what was happening.
So I haven't been since then either to the Big 12 tournament, since before then, since 2019. But there was a lady, and Smokey, you know what I'm talking about, that she was one of the security guards. They wear maroon jackets and gray pants.
You're talking about the arena,
shoes.
right?
At the arena.
Yeah.
And she was she worked on the floor. And every time out, the security guards run to the edges of the in and out bounds lines, and she darts there every time.
Very athletic.
Yeah. I'm wondering, and people start cheering for her every time because she runs so hard and it's it would be like a shuttle sprint. It's a 15-foot run from where she is at most. I wonder if they're going to make those people maybe, spray a little Windex when they're doing that.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah.
They should. Keep it clean. It's beautiful. I look forward to kind of watching it when the games start for the women, in fact, tomorrow. A couple of football notes, 2 or 3 of them. Houston offensive coordinator Slade Nagel and defensive coordinator Austin Armstrong recently signed 1-year contract extensions to receive a bump in pay up to $900,000 each. That was Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle, who covers Houston football and does basketball too for them. So a nice bump for those two.
Yeah, I mean, good for them. Did a great job last year, and certainly deserving of a little bit of a raise in the pocketbook. So smart move by Willie Fritz, and I think they adjusted well to obviously losing Shieldwood to Texas Tech, and just kind of you just wonder when you lose coaches what that's going to look like. And it turns out Houston was actually better. Worked out for both parties. Worked out for Tech, obviously, really well. Worked out for Houston. And I think Houston's one of those programs right now that certainly, as I mentioned about 10 minutes ago now, in basketball, they'd already been carrying their weight well. But football last year really was, I think, unsurprising if you're a Willie Fritz believer, which most people who have followed along long enough are. But still kind of like, oh, shoot, maybe this is a little bit quicker than I thought. And you look at the projections for next year, and they're a team that's very much in that conversation to play Texas Tech, quite frankly. I mean, Texas Tech's got a spot booked already
right.
In the eyes of pretty much everybody. But as far as those that could end up there, I mean, yeah, Houston's right there in that mix with BYU and whoever else you want to throw in there. So, yeah, good for them, and big expectations for the Cougars this year.
And by the way, expectations, Willie Fritz will join us tomorrow. He'll be on the air with us at 4 o'clock here on 365 Sports. Now, another football note. Mississippi State getting Philip Montgomery to be a part of their coaching staff, joining Jeff Levy, the head coach there. Montgomery was at Virginia Tech last year, took over the team at the end of the year. The offenses, when he was there, all improved. And he also, of course, he and Levy go back to the days at Baylor. Montgomery went to Tulsa after he left Baylor as an offensive coordinator to become the head coach there, and those two reunite. He was at Auburn as well, so Philip Montgomery to Mississippi State.
I mean, I think this is already pretty common knowledge, but for any young people out there that might catch this at some point, it's about who you know. It's about what you do, too, but it's definitely about who you know as much as it is about what you do a lot of times. I mean, the number of staffers you see each year that get jobs as a result of previously with this guy and met this guy there and did this here with that guy and so on and so forth. You see that with a lot of the jobs that get filled. So, yeah, Philip Montgomery has now bounced around, and he winds his way back to Jeff Levy, who was a young coach when Phil was the big OC at the time for Baylor under Art Briles, and they've both gone in different directions and kind of wound their way around the college football world. But, yeah, Jeff's a head coach now and giving Philip a job. So it's just kind of funny how that all works and how important relationships are. But, yeah, it's a nice hire. I mean, I think some of the shine's worn off like Philip Montgomery, offensive genius, and has for a while. I mean, he's been to so many different places at this point, but he's very knowledgeable and a very good coach. And so I think just having him in that room with Levy and coaching wide receivers, I mean, he certainly knows how to do that. That's a good hire for them.
Yeah, I just hope that for Phil Montgomery's sake that he doesn't have another one of these one-year hitches.
That's what I mean. He's just been around. Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's a big splash to hire.
Yeah, and for Jeff Levy, like for all of that, like he's a really good coach. In spite of like the last run would tell you, he's a really good, smart offensive coach. He's going to do really well as the wide receivers coach. What I hope is that he's not just there for another year and then has to move again, because that's kind of been Auburn and Virginia Tech, and now hopefully not Mississippi State.
He was at Tulsa for a long time. Yeah,
I mean, as the head coach there, and that was what he did the majority of the time after he left Baylor. And then, yeah, these last couple years, he's done the semi-pro thing. Was it the UFL or whatever that he was involved with Birmingham, I believe, and then, a couple of college jobs sandwiched around that. So, no, I mean, he hasn't bounced around a lot, but it does feel like in these last couple years, it just seems like he's bounced around a lot. Well, but really, it's been long tenure at Tulsa and then going back to the assistant ranks to try to figure his way, out as far as the rest of his career goes.
1 year at Auburn, and you said Birmingham Stallions for 1 year, Virginia Tech for 1 year. And so, yeah, it'd be nice for him, I'm sure. He'd like to be able to buy a house and live there for a little bit. I think there's still maybe aspirations, but I'm not sure about him as a head coach. So, white paper. We mentioned this yesterday and, of course, last week with Louisville, their athletic department, the university, and more. Ross Dellinger, yet with another story, the president, AD, and board chair call for structural reform of college sports, encouraging Congress to amend the Sports Business Act, and also to order pool rights, TV rights. We've heard Cody Campbell discuss this and more. Create a new governing body, implement an NFL-style salary cap. Now, the Board of Trustees chairman, we expect him to be a part of the show today at 4:25 based on his schedule, but it was from the arena, not the sideline, and Louisville put that out on Monday. This said financial issues as a way to show what's playing out at universities across the country, even opening up the doors and the windows into their own athletic department of what they are dealing with at a big school like Louisville.
The kind of key points to this are they support the SAFE Act with a hard salary cap for sports, so to keep it on a level playing field all of that's going to be really difficult to get through and done. But that's where they're advocating for, and it's much more of instead of the SCORE Act, the SAFE Act is one that's more student athlete friendly, actually, and that's, I think, the one that's more likely to get through both houses of Congress and eventually to the president's desk in the next few years, whatever that means. But they support that. They support a hard salary cap. They're very critical of the governance of the CSE, in the paper even saying, look, they had to do this, yet nobody can agree on what the CFC is, so nobody knows what the rules are.
Yeah, I mean, it's another chapter in trying to figure out how to rein this all in and make it sustainable for everybody. I think the usual suspects, Greg Sankey and his schools that are already making most of the money, or Tony Petitti and his schools, are still going to scoff at this and say, why do we need to help float you guys, or why should we? And the answer by people like Cody Campbell is because otherwise sports will get cut and this and that. And so there's a big disagreement, and I think you've seen people poke holes in Sankey's arguments and have poked holes in Petitti's, have poked holes in Cody Campbell's, have poked holes in, I'm sure somewhere somebody's doing that to this Louisville endorsement as well. But I'm glad that people are being proactive and trying to figure out solutions. I mean, that's what we need. We need people to communicate and to come up with ideas to try to make this the best that it can be. It's if you're not a fan of politics, really boring stuff. Quite frankly, you just want to see the games and not care so much about how they're put together. But it is a very important piece of the puzzle to figure out how this is all going to keep getting put together moving forward. So a lot of schools with a lot of different opinions, and I don't know which direction's the best direction for everybody at this point in time, but I do think there's enough, talk about the rich certainly wanting to poke holes in the Cody Campbell idea or in the Louisville idea, because they stand to not gain as much from that. So keep that in mind when you see the Greg Sankey proposal or the Tony Petitti proposal, is they don't want to share, and I don't blame them. But we will see. There's this fight for, quote-unquote, the greater good of all college sports, and then there's those who seemingly feel like we've got it pretty good. We don't care about the rest of you guys, and we shouldn't have to care about the rest of you guys. And there's people saying, well, no, actually, you should, and here's why. So, yeah, this is all very much starting to reach a boiling point where there's enough political involvement, even though we're clearly very busy with other far more important matters nationally right now. But for what time there is spent on other things, there's been a lot of, I think, momentum building up as far as just awareness and getting enough people talking about it to hopefully see some action follow through. But what that action will be amongst all of these options, I think that's where the fight still remains.
Brandon, if you could go to the tweet that's from Chris Lowe of on3.com, if you can get to that one. I know you got to go kind of in order with that. There you go. A telling passage from Louisville's letter on reform without an enforceable cap. The current trajectory is clear. A small number of programs will spend whatever it takes to dominate. The middle class will hollow out, and hundreds of programs will be forced to cut sports, reduce scholarships, and abandon the student athletes who depend on them. Now, I actually reached out again to Cody Campbell when I saw this, and I said, that right there, look at that comment. And one of the things that Cody Campbell, people look at, he goes, how can you be in favor of saving sports when you yourself are the one who helps run the NIL, the Matador Club, spending whatever you need to help Texas Tech remain at a high level and get to that level? And you know what his answer was to me was, if I was selfish, I wouldn't want to do the Save the College Sports Act, because it's best for Texas Tech if we just go ahead and leave it the way it is right now in wanting to save various sports. Everybody has a certain look at it. And I told him, I said, I don't think people get that message from you, and it might need to be something that you clarify at some point.
Yeah, I guess the argument that I see most often when he poses it that way is that people feel like, yeah, you're donating a lot of money, but you're still in a massive gap compared to the TV money that's being made by those other two. So, yeah, you want to close the gap with them TV-wise, because that's the big separator right now. You can spend tens of millions of dollars, and clearly you are, but you don't account for what ESPN's paying Florida and Mississippi State and all these schools. So It's all very confusing on which act is doing what and aiming for what. Safe act, score act, this act, that act. I don't know. It's hard to keep track of in a way. But yeah, that's what the detractor to Cody Campbell having the general best interest in mind and not ultimately Texas Tech's. Now, I think he'd be lying if he doesn't ultimately have Texas Tech's best interest in mind first and foremost. So there is a point there, but I do think in general he has everybody's best interest at heart. But it's very easily poked through when you go, well, yeah, of course you want to do this because you're like $60 million behind in TV revenue compared to Kentucky or to Mississippi State. And so, yeah, you want to close the gap that way because you can't do it quickly in any other way.
And
now,
also will save him money. He won't have to give as much.
He won't have to pay as much money out of his own pocket. And so there's ways to poke holes in that. Now, I'm not doing that myself. I'm just saying that's what you see, and that's the counter argument. And I know there's probably a witty answer that he has about, well, we'd all be making the same money or something and so forth. But we're not ever going to reach a point where everybody's spending the same $20 million and that's all that's there.
No. But and people will see this in the Doug McNamee interview that we have later.
Yep.
I asked him about donor fatigue, and I think and look, not everybody has a Cody Campbell in his band of merry oil billionaires. So there's a lot of donor fatigue because it's like, well, it does. Sometimes it's setting money on fire. Like Troy Aikman to UCLA getting Dante Moore. He essentially set money on fire for Dante Moore. It didn't pay off for him. It didn't pay off for UCLA. Like even as a donation, just as a donation to his university, it didn't pay off for them. So why would he continue to do it if there's no payoff? Even for 1 or 2 years, there's no payoff. It brought them no championships. It brought them, like 4 starts of Dante Moore total in the whole thing. So I think that they've got to get to that point where, again, people like Cody Campbell, he's not ever going to worry about it. But those people who are a financial level below him are going to stop because they're going to say, like, look, I gave you a bunch of money. Nothing ever happened. Our team was never better. And I just let it on fire. Why am I going to give you money because you say you can get these players now? There has to be a way to get the money to the players from the schools and from the TV deals and not from just the donors.
And that's what Louisville and Cody Campbell and others want, is to pool the TV rights to shrink that gap, and there really wouldn't be a gap. You'd all be under the same umbrella. So, Louisville wants that, but of course Louisville does. They're in the same boat where they're not going to be able to just go jump into the SEC and make that money or close that gap in any other way. So the argument for the SEC and Big Ten schools would be like, of course you guys want this. This is the only way you can catch us, unless you have a billionaire that wants to spend $40 million of his own money every year keeping you competitive. Like, we're always going to be out in front. So it's more complicated than that, but the big theme of the pooling of rights, that's the most interesting part to me. Some of the other stuff's interesting too, but the pooling of rights is the game changer. If you do that, it's a totally different world. If you don't do that, then it's the world we're already living in pretty much.
And by the way, the $40 million, again, that's among a handful.
I'm just throwing a number out there.
But that's the number that you've heard, and yet he's the guy that obviously Womble and others leading the way.
So the other thing, and look, I would just tell you this. If I was Senator Paul Catalina and you brought those 2 bills to my desk, and believe me, I would be an awesome senator. I would be an amazing senator. But if you brought that bill to my desk, I would throw the SCORE Act back in your face and say, this isn't going to work because you're trying to move backwards. Nothing ever works when you try to move backwards. Historically, ever. When you try to go backwards, it doesn't work. Now, you can take an idea from the past that used to work that you got rid of, but you cannot completely, shove genies back in bottles. You cannot do that. The SAFE Act actually does move things forward a little bit. There needs to be some negotiation between the two sides of all the sides, and that's how it will work. The thing that distresses me about this is that the SEC and Big Ten, they put out their white paper first, basically saying, hey, this is all a bad idea, and here are the examples why, and we don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's going to be hard.
Well, that's also what makes you think that they are maybe a little bit. I don't think that they're scared.
No.
I've seen a couple headlines where it's like the SEC shaking it. No, the hell they're not. That is total garbage clickbait bullcrap. They're not scared in that way, but are they a little bit uneasy because there's a slight chance that this could happen?
Right word.
Yeah, because there's better than zero chance, but is it anywhere close to where they're shaking in their boots because all of a sudden K-State's going to have an extra? No, of course not. So you can see why they would not want it, because it would destroy a extreme advantage that they have as far as the TV money goes, and I don't blame them for that. If their product is worth $50 million more per year or whatever the actual numbers are than the other product, why should you sit there and go, yeah, sure, we'll make the same amount as the team that clearly wasn't worth the same as we did? I mean, you wouldn't, and none of us would do that for the greater good, unless it was to, like, save the world or something. Now, in this case, they're positioning it as it's saving college sports, right? So if Sankey and Petiti feel like they want to continue fighting this, then maybe they end up looking like the bad guys. But I understand where they're coming from, and I also understand why everybody else is like, no, let's totally do this, because, yeah, this would balance the playing field, and everybody would be better off. So
I will walk and play golf naked if they ever would agree to that, the Big Ten and SEC. There's no way. And that's not a win for you. It would not be a win for me. That's just it's never going to happen. But I understand why they need it to happen. And we'll see how that goes. There's a lot of things. There's a thing going up in Dallas today that I didn't even get into, a bunch of leaders in college sports that are up there.
Basically, they are meeting to, it's called Smash Capital, and they are trying to find an agreement among these leaders of college athletics on how to pool those rights, on what the plan is going to be. They're presenting their plan.
And even some of their own commissioners and presidents or whatever isn't that right? Not everybody's on the same page about who should be there. Yeah.
No, there's like random people there.
I kind of like
the
it.
TCU president's there, but the so-and-so president isn't there. It's just kind of a random hodgepodge of power brokers, and yeah, they're looking at pooling the TV rights, and so that's clearly become a topic that's become very popular, and it would drastically alter and change the balance and the landscape of college sports. And I think college football in particular, since that's where you really see, I think, the most as far as the amount of money that can make a difference. And sometimes it doesn't. A lot of programs where they spend a lot of money and it doesn't make a damn bit of difference, and others do far better with less. But this whole pooling of rights, I think, is the most interesting topic, because it is the game changer. And if there were to be something that eventually Sankey and Petiti, if this got far enough down the line where it actually came close to reality, then I don't think they'd be shaking in their boots, but I think they'd be pissed. And I think you see that, and I think that's why they were proactive in trying to cut this off before others got their say on why this is such a good idea. They went out before that and said, no, this is why this is a terrible idea. And they went on offense. So that does tell you that, yeah, it's something that they don't like, and that's notable in itself.
And then our guest, Dr. Lawrence Benz of Louisville, the trustees chairman, will join us hopefully at 4:25 today based on his schedule. And he shot holes in the Big Ten and SEC and what came out yesterday from the university. Craig, your favorite guy, Darren Heitner on the Louisville White Papers. This is Heitner. Yep, here we go. Louisville argues that college athletics needs a hard spending cap, pointing to the NFL salary cap as the model. But the comparison undermines the argument. The NFL cap works because it's collectively bargained. The college cap is not. It is imposed. If challenged, it would, of course, not make it.
I mean, yeah, I don't have anything against the guy. I just is one of the characters, kind of like Cody Campbell, who I was hoping we wouldn't have as just regular parts of our conversations every day. But once we went full NIL and all of that, then boosters became household names, and so did lawyers. And that's what I was hoping to avoid, quite frankly. But it was never anything personal with those specific examples. It's just I didn't want to know the boosters out publicly talking and doing this and that, and I didn't want to know the lawyers especially that were out there talking this and that. But Heitner's very well versed in this whole thing, and I guess that is obviously a very big sticking point. Is there's a reason why they don't want a CBA, and this would require a CBA, I guess, to what he's speaking to. And so, yeah, that's a massive hurdle that is probably not overcomable right now, but it just seems like it's inevitable that that's going to have to be the route you want to eventually go.
What he does is that no matter how you think of him, he just sits there and said, okay, but here's the law. And he kind of clarifies it. And remember, I still like the fact when he took over for the quarterback at Washington, Look was trying to leave. Remember, DeMond Williams, and all of a sudden Heitner takes over, and you're like, okay, he's going to figure out a way. And the next day, DeMond Williams was back at the campus of the University of Washington.
Yeah, that was a situation where there wasn't anything he could do. So that was one where that very quickly came and went, but there's other cases that he's got involved with, and I know has rubbed some fan bases the wrong way because it affected their guy or their story or their school or whatever. But yeah, he's knowledgeable in the space. I would hope that people who are trying to make some of these decisions are leaning on guys like him that seem to kind of know the ins and outs of all the laws as a way to just kind of circumvent wasting time on things that aren't realistic. But then again, we've seen a lot of ideas proposed that aren't realistic. The moment they're announced, you're like, okay, well, that's never going to pass this or that. So maybe they're not leaning on guys like him to help them with these ideas, because there has been a lot of wasting time, but it does feel like we're getting to a point where things are coming to a head, and you're seeing all these meetings taking place with not just a TCU, but with a whoever, an Ohio State also involved as well.
So 2 notes on Kentucky, Brandon. We'll wrap it up if you can go back to that, if it's possible. Their athletic director, Mitch Barnhart, expected to retire, and so he is leaving, but he is staying as the executive in residence for UK Sports and Workforce. He'll get paid nearly $1 million a year, have 10 tickets to every football game, men's basketball game, and baseball game too. He will have quite a bit. And he will retire, though, as the AD at Kentucky. Then Baylor wide receiver, well, he never was Baylor wide receiver, but Gilmore, he was a Kentucky transfer, signed with Baylor, never enrolled, and he now is headed back to Kentucky. This is a young man who's bounced around quite a bit, but he never did enroll. Spring football, of course, starting throughout the country in many places. So he leaves, and that's a hit on. He didn't have great stats last year, like 18 catches, 200 and some yards, but a big body, and he now moves back to Kentucky.
I don't think that this is a gigantic loss for it. It sucks that they didn't sign somebody who is going to come here. That's the loss. But if they can't find 30 catches on the roster without him, then they've got bigger problems.
I can't find myself hardly caring about Hardly Gilmore IV not going to Baylor. Good for him to get whatever, I guess it was, that he needed to figure out to stay in Kentucky. But, I mean, yeah, whatever. I know that they probably viewed him at the time as a nice addition, because every guy you get in the portal is like, huge addition, massive ad. And it's like, this dude had 100 yards for over 3 years. How is he a massive ad? Boom, all this other stuff. And a lot of times it is warranted, but – not trying to poo on him, but also not going to really sit there and wax too much positively on a guy who's changing his mind on March the 3rd about where he was going to go originally. I just, okay, whatever, dude. Go play at Kentucky, and good luck to you.
Yeah, I'll say this, and again, I don't know how good he was or what. Didn't think much about it when he signed. He was a freshman at Kentucky. He then elected to transfer to Nebraska in the offseason, was dismissed by the Cornhuskers, then returned to Lexington, then committed in the transfer portal to Louisville, signed with Baylor, and now he is back at Kentucky. So he has bounced around. Good luck to him with whatever he can do at Kentucky. Last part, a baseball note. Last night, Northeastern Louisiana beat the number 2 ranked team in the country in a great baseball program, LSU, 13-10, one of those midweek games that you get those upsets in college baseball. But even then, LSU was not expecting that at all. So,
no. Where's Garrett? Bummer.
Yeah.
Super bummer.
Yeah. Oh, the double bird. Double bird.
Garrett, on the first day of college baseball season, I walked in. He goes, "How you feeling?" Does it feel fine? He goes, "You feel good about Florida State having another embarrassing year in college baseball and not reaching all your goals?" That's what like a nice guy, Garrett. He's a nice guy. But when college baseball is on, he's cutthroat, man.
No, he is.
He's absolutely cutthroat.
He is. But
he'll hit you with a car.
LSU got beat, Garrett, 13-10. It's a midweek game. You see those at times, and then they will probably still playing for the SEC championship in that great conference down the road. When we come back, Hall of Famer John McClain. We will have the Louisville Board of Trustees chairman at 425. And Doug McNamee sat in the studio with us for a lengthy one-on-one or three-on-one about many things since the last time we spoke with him. We'll have that too. We'll have quizzes, polls, trivia, and the wheel. This is 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, lowt.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. Contact them at pettyclinic.lowt.com. And if you have any kind of symptoms of what is low T as you get older, mid-30s, upper 30s, especially maybe 40s, 1 out of every 3 to 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. So contact Dr. Petty. They will set you up to get your blood work, take care of that appointment for you, get the result, and Dr. Petty will look at your T level. If it's lower than it needs to be, maybe quite lower than it's supposed to be, he could put you in a program so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
As my go-to guy, can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Get car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery for my G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%.
Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels.
We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
Hall of Fame columnist John McClain joins us a little earlier than normal on this Tuesday. And with Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, and David Smoak. John, thanks for your time. David Montgomery is now a part of the Houston Texans. Your thoughts about the trade?
Texans needed a running back. I was hoping they'd get a draft choice. They had 3 picks in the first 2 rounds, 2 in the second, 1 high in the second they got from Washington for Laramie Tunsil. So they've gone older. 2 years ago, they did this with Joe Mixon. A lot of people questioned it. Why would they want Mixon, who was turning 28? He had a tremendous season, ended up missing 3.5 games because of illegal hip drop tackles that caused him to have surgery. So they're hoping Montgomery, who had 8 rushing touchdowns last year, and the Texans had 9, and he's had 33 touchdowns the last 3 seasons. Texans have had 34. So their running game has been pathetic. They're desperate for help, especially when you get near the goal line, and that is what he's best at.
John, Kyler Murray will be looking for work or on a new team next week. The Cardinals going to take a big hit. I'm waiting for the Dolphins to make the same decision on Tua Tagovailoa, but for Kyler Murray, what do you think the market is going to be like for him? I assume kind of robust, even though he's not worked out in Arizona.
Yeah, I don't think much. He's making a fortune. You don't need to give him a lot of money. He should do a 1-year, make it deal. The problem with Kyler Murray is his work ethic. People questioned his work ethic, how devoted he was to the offense, to the team. And if Cliff Kingsbury had not been the coach, he wouldn't have been the first overall pick. And I think he'll get another job, but I'd rather have Tua Tagovailoa. He's led the league in yards. He's been in the playoffs twice. I'd much rather have Tua than Kyler.
John, I know this has been kind of trending this way for a while, but all these young athletes basically being combine trained throughout their life now at this point. I think that was on full display. I mean, the 40 times especially, but just some freakish athletes at the combine at Indy this past week.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, when you look back on it, Craig, you're going to say, boy, there was too many that looked like Tarzan and hit like Jane. And they're trained, as you pointed out, for the combine. They work on those drills all year round. After the seasons end, their workout gurus have places where they go live in Miami and in Scottsdale, Arizona, where that's all they do is train every day on the combine drills. The bottom line is, you ought to know if a guy's a football player from looking at his tape. As they often say, the tape don't lie. And it's amazing how many NFL people and media people fall in love with guys who look great in T-shirts and shorts.
John, I got a question back about Murray. He was due $36.8 million in guaranteed money for 2026 with offsets, which means whoever signs him, will they give him the minimum? How does that work? And how much of that goes to Arizona? How much does Arizona get hit?
Offset means anything that he gets from the new team will be taken out of what Arizona owes him. And so he doesn't need a big contract. As I just pointed out, he better take a one-year deal and prove that he is all in. You know, a guy like him who's smaller and is a runner, you got to have a certain system that fits him. If you don't, you're wasting your money trying to get Kyler Murray. But it's a good time to be an unrestricted free agent like he and Tua Tagovailoa are going to be, because it's such a bad year about the draft. And let me point out one thing about this draft. This time last year, all these draft experts were saying, man, next year is going to be a great draft for quarterbacks. You're going to have Drew Aller, Lenore Sellers from South Carolina. He's got a chance to be the first overall pick. Clay Kubnick, Nussmeier, all those guys are going to be so good. They didn't mention Fernando Mendoza. They didn't mention Trey Simpson from Alabama. And so this draft next year that we think is going to be fantastic with Dante Moore and Arch Manning and Julian saying, you never know. And that's why you take a guy like Simpson, he could end up being like Jackson Dart. You know, a lot of people thought the Giants were crazy to take him in the first round. Now everybody loves him. And so the bottom line on quarterbacks, if you get one and you coach him and you got good people around him, you got a chance to develop him, and he can be pretty good if you know what you're doing.
John, do you think Max Crosby will be traded?
What they're looking at, Paul, is by the time they're any good, barring a miraculous turnaround like New England, it might be 3 years down the road, and he'll be playing in his 31st or 32nd year. But he is a star. He is a great pass rusher. He's a great teammate. And you're not going to get two number ones for him. Give me a break. He's 28. He'll be 29. Nobody's going to give up two number ones for a guy like that. If you could get away giving up a one for a team that had a pretty high pick and maybe a future 2 or 3, something like that, maybe. But I think if I'm the Raiders, it does not serve a purpose with the fan base, the players, to get rid of your best player.
John, I can't believe it, but then again, I guess I can. John Weeks, I know he left Houston already, but he's back again, re-signed by the 49ers at 40 years old. This man's is still doing it all this time later.
John Weeks, who should be in the Baylor Athletic Hall of Fame.
He told us that at the Super Bowl, by the way.
Yeah,
he's been in the Pro Bowl, in one of the all-time great guys, loves Baylor, represents Baylor. That's the kind of embodiment of a player Baylor Athletic Hall of Fame needs. You guys should light a fire under him and tell him to get this guy in there. And right now, he still trails Matt Bryant, who had, I think, 17 years. John's working on 16. Maybe bring him in as a duo. But those guys, especially Weeks, have done a tremendous job of representing the Baylor Bears.
John, I want to go to a free agent in Kenneth Walker, the star of the Super Bowl for Seattle at 1,000 yards his first year, and then a couple of years that didn't go well, including injuries. But then at 1,000 yards was fantastic for them this year, but they didn't put any kind of franchise tag on him at all. Is that running back position hitting year 5 or what?
Well, their other running back, Zach Charbonnet,
he's hurt
out.
too. Yeah.
He tore an ACL. He's not going to be ready for the start of the season. Now, maybe they think they can re-sign Walker. I don't see anybody breaking the bank for him. 1,000 yards doesn't mean squat anymore when you got 17 games. If you get 12 or 1,300, that's more impressive. But I wouldn't pay a lot of money for Walker. I don't care what kind of season he had, because you can find backs. And I don't know what Seattle's going to do, if they'll draft one at the bottom of the first round, if there's another free agent they think fits their system. But Walker, boy, he was a good breakaway back. And but I don't see him getting paid $20 million a year like he wants.
I think there's two scenarios here for him. I think he's likely to go back to the Seahawks, but the other one is somebody gets drunk about it, and like they do about this. There's always something with Super Bowl MVPs, John, where there's a GM out there that's like, oh, we got to go get the Super Bowl MVP. And then they pay, like Larry Brown, I remember, got a big, huge contract that he couldn't have ever lived up to, even though he was a good player. And then they kind of overpay for that because they've got the juice. But I think he's probably going back to Seattle, and they're going to let him test the market.
If you're one of the teams that's got a lot of money, and then you can afford to pay a little more, do it. The Jets picked second. They don't need a running back. Tennessee's got Tony Pollard. They should take Jeremiah Love. If Arizona doesn't take him, Arizona would be a team. They got some money. They got the 4th pick. They could sign him and then use that 4th pick on an offensive tackle who most people are predicting. But if Walker thinks he's going to get rich, it's not going to happen.
John, thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. We'll have you back on at normal next week, but Doug McNammy in studio, I'll send that to you if you want it.
Guys, thank you very much. I'd love to hear it. Appreciate it.
John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, with us on 365 Sports a little bit earlier than normal. When we come back, we'll look at the 4 o'clock hour with a couple of other notes to get to when it comes to college football and more. And then we'll hear from the Louisville Board of Trustees chairman on the white papers released yesterday and his thoughts about that. And Doug McNamee, 3-on-1. He'll join us in the interview today at around 4:45 and more. Brandon Rowe, Garrett Ross, and Andrew Valade running the mothership today. And this is 365 Sports. The women's basketball tournament in Kansas City starting tomorrow. Baylor will be there, and so will the Baylor alumni group with Doug Furch and Paul Thorpe. They will set up at the Lowe's Kansas City Hotel. Join them for any kind of Baylor send-offs before each of the tournament games while they last, and maybe all the way into the weekend and through. With the women's tournament March the 4th, the Lowe's Kansas City Hotel, 2 hours before tip-off. Enjoy time with other Baylor fans as the team leaves to go to their next game with Spirit Squad, courtside players, and also much more. They'll also have other gatherings throughout the time in Kansas City, not only this week with the women's tournament in KC, but next week with the men's tournament also in Kansas City. It's the Baylor alumni with Doug Furch and Paul Thorpe. Go to Baylor.edu.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
At the Start Something New sales event at Allen Samuels, drive a new Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $13,000 off, or a new Laramie Crew Cab with 3.9% plus $15,000 off MSRP. Shop Allen Samuels in Waco.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, Your Bank for Life.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports.
Garrett, you need to make sure during the next break that I put a couple of dollars in one of these helmets from the interrupting the after spot response from the Kotler voiceover group on the This is 365 Sports. I interrupted it twice yesterday. But I'm 2-0 today. But $1 every time I do.
What?
Every time I do.
Way to go for talking during the no-hitter.
Yeah, because now you're going to do it like 5 times before the show's over.
You talk during the
no,
no-hitter.
I'm set. I'm locked in.
You don't believe in that?
No, I believe you don't put the bats up. You don't start putting up the gloves and all that.
And
the no-hitter thing.
Here is something that I believe to be true. You never talk about the pace of a game if you're broadcasting it. And you had a horrible habit of doing that.
I did.
And
yeah.
we went in, like, there was one time we went into an overtime game where I was ready to kill you.
Yeah.
Because, Craig, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You're like, man, this second half is rolling along. And you're like, great. Here comes 17 penalties in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there was something to that. So some people think it'd be funny to, like, oh, there's a cursing ball. Let me double, triple, quadruple down in the curse. Look how funny it is. And nobody else is laughing, but it's funny to you. Yeah, we had a lot of moments like that in high school football. And how many games are we doing these days, Paul? We're not doing those games anymore, are we?
Yeah.
No, we're not. Maybe, just maybe, there was one push over the line too many as far as trying to extend these games by cursing or jinxing.
Yeah.
I never offered any of you an extension or a raise.
I thought that's not good either.
So you're Kenneth Walker, basically.
But I would say this. I was at one point thinking of, like, getting a psychic in to, like, undo or, like, flying in one of these voodoo priestesses from New Orleans.
Priestesses?
Priestesses, to, like, sprinkle whatever they do on you. like holy water and cinnamon or whatever it is, and then maybe the jinx would have been off us, so we don't get into.
Yeah, I was bad about that.
Especially two offenses that are like two spread offenses. When you say it's been going fast, it's going to be.
For those who don't know, it's like there's a game and it's just flying by, and you're like, wow, we're going to get out of here pretty early, but you don't say that. It's like the no-hitter. You don't say it's the 7th inning and there's no hits. You just keep it to yourself, and then inevitably you say, oh, wow, this game's going to be over by 9. We'll get out. That's perfect because we got early game day tomorrow, and it's no C. I'm not doing the same thing as what I'm talking about. I'm just stumbling on my words a little bit. But, oh, man, it's going to be perfect. Man, this game's flying by, and next thing you know, it's just flag, injury, flag, injury, flag, and then you're there for like 3 hours.
Yeah. Punt, or touchdown, kickoff, no defense.
Yeah.
Clock stops every 2 seconds. It goes from, hey, look, there's only 3 minutes left in the third quarter to 20 minutes later. Hey, there's 2 minutes and 10 seconds left in the third quarter.
We're trauma dumping here.
I would like to say last year was one of the smoothest years ever.
Good.
But we had some gremlins early on in the year as we went to the video part of it, too, that people didn't quite listen to me enough. So Josh Cameron, who joined us last week, the former Baylor wide receiver, punt returner, had a bad combine. Not because of any kind of performance. It's because he could not perform. He sustained a minor sprain and was not able to work out. That's from his mother, Andrea, who joined the show many years ago and also was listening last week when we had him on the show. So he's going to have what will be a pro day, March 22nd. So he has 19 days from today to get healthy again and run some of the drills that he could not run, that he wanted to run in Indianapolis.
Well, that sucks. I mean, we were talking to him last week, and he was so excited about the opportunity and living the dream and all that. And, to go and get hurt and then not even really take part is just a total bummer and not something you can go do again. It's not like there's next year. No, there's not. There's no other combine ever unless there's like some league that springs up and you're washed out at the end of. And I don't even want to go down that route because I don't want that for Josh. But yeah, the NFL combine dream was not at all what he hoped that it would be, and that's really unfortunate. But I think as far as the interviews went, he probably aced those.
Oh yeah.
And I think that he was enough on the radar as an under-the-radar type of a guy in stuff that I read the last few weeks that he should still have plenty of people that are intrigued by him and maybe even more intrigued now because they're going to have to go down to Waco to watch him. I guess March 22nd, so it's been announced.
That's
okay,
what it is.
So yeah, if you didn't join us last week, no Big 12 Combine this year. So everybody back to their respective pro days, which is totally understandable. And that'll be a guy, I'm not sure what my plans are on the 22nd just yet, but I might go out there and watch Josh Cameron just to see him do his thing since he couldn't do it in Indianapolis. And best of luck to him. We're rooting for him and want him to do well. And, I think that sucks.
It does. And I just sent Scott Casterline, his agent, a note saying, what does he have to get done? And is it enough where he'll be healthy on the 22nd? Because he needs to perform and show what he can do because he was probably going to be drafted on Saturday. There was a chance if he had gone up there and run some kind of let's say 4 or 5-ish type 40, then maybe that gets some people interest because everything else that he has, size, hands, ability to play special teams, and a great dude, would have helped a little bit, but didn't get to do it.
He'll be on a roster.
He
will be on a roster.
I think it's just whether he's drafted is a little bit more in question now.
He's someone who I think can hang around because of all those things you just mentioned, Smokey. The special teams part of it for someone like him early in his career is going to be really important. But he's a big dude who's got some quicks.
Yeah, he's a thick guy. He's not like the tallest guy, but he's like 6+, so he's better off than a lot of other guys who are really stretching to try to make no, height doesn't mean that much. It's like eventually it does. Eventually it does matter unless you are just like a unicorn, and even then unicorns can't be 4'2". You know what I mean? But he doesn't have that worry. He doesn't have a weight. He doesn't have a size worry. He's got more of like a speed question mark or just things like that. And I think particularly watching how the draft goes on day 3, there's no chance in hell he shouldn't get drafted because of just the number of dudes who are like favors for the scouting guy. It's his brother-in-law's nephew or something, so you draft him. Or, I went to Cornell, I'm going to draft the Cornell center in the 7th round. We're not going to use him, but like it's just cool to do. Like when you see those fly or those throwaway type of picks or those kinds of things, yeah, Josh Cameron absolutely deserves to be drafted somewhere. But we'll see.
And in fact, Andrea, watching the show and in the chat room, thanks David, Craig, and Paul. It's a minor issue, so he should be ready to go on March the 22nd.
Great you know what? You didn't even need to text the agent and bother that busy man.
Yeah, no. Mama.
Well, now she's
Mama's
busier.
son was
now
ready.
she's busier, but we know, like, all we had to do was bring it up on the show. We love her.
Yep.
She's fantastic.
Yep, she is. Okay. Now there was one other. What was the other one we were going to discuss?
I have a
you
question.
had questions for us.
I have a question for you. I thought about this during the break, Craig, and you are maybe uniquely positioned to answer this because you are an Oklahoma fan. Of the 3 Lincoln Riley stud quarterbacks that he had, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and then Jalen Hurts there at the end. Which one did you think would have the best NFL career? And I think it's clear that Jalen Hurts has had the best because he's won a Super Bowl, but Baker Mayfield has rallied on his and has kind of turned it around.
Yeah, that's a really interesting and great question. I think, it was all different scenarios by the time they all rolled around. Who would have? I guess I probably would have thought Baker had the best opportunity because he's Baker. Like, he's going to find a way to prove people wrong. Whereas with Kyler, I knew he would get drafted, but I had concerns about the size, for good reason, I think. Now, he's proven that that's something that he can work around, and he's done that at every level. Like, there were concerns about he's too small in college, right? And then there he goes and he wins a Heisman Trophy, and he's totally fine. The NFL, yeah, I had a little bit more concern about that compared to Baker. And then with Jalen Hurts, I thought he was super solid, but yeah, I didn't picture him like in the NFL dropping back and doing all sorts of things. Little did I picture he's just going to run the football in Philadelphia and do the tush push whenever called upon. So I didn't stylistically see how well he would fit into the NFL in the right spot like he has with Philadelphia, although there are plenty of people who feel like he's not the greatest fit, as you can tell by the discourse surrounding him now.
Many of them in Philadelphia.
Most of them in Philadelphia. But, yeah, I think I would have said Baker. They've all surprised me in their own ways, though. Like, they've all been better than I expected. Does that answer it in a way?
No, it does.
They've all been better than I thought they would be.
Smokey, what do you – if based on your expectations for all 3 of them when they came out,
I've learned something about Kyler Murray, that no matter where he was at Allen High School, the biggest school in high school in Texas, or at OU, A&M and then OU, and then the NFL, never to ever underestimate him. He can be explosive. Ask the Cowboys. But he couldn't do that all the time. I just think Baker Mayfield has such a burr in his ass that he is the most competitive guy that I not ever seen, but he was going to will himself. And another guy that came – like from being the walk-on, he was going to will himself to be a good football player, and he had to overcome a bad start, and he is set and playing well.
Something about being in Cleveland that gives everybody a bad start to their NFL career if that's where you start and play the quarterback position. But, yeah, I think the one thing they have in common outside of just being really great players, and 2 of the 3 were Heisman winners, but they all have a chip on their shoulder the size of the state they're from, which is the state of Texas. All of them. Baker because he's the walk-on and he's this and that, and then Kyler because of his size, and then Jalen Hurts of he can't throw the ball and he can't do this or do that. He's a game manager, all these things, and all 3 of them, to go and be – especially Kyler and Baker, number 1 overall picks. That far exceeded my expectations for any of those guys, even when they were doing their thing. But, yeah, great stories that all 3 of them panned out the way that they did. And you know what? Give Lincoln Riley a ton of credit, man. I know that it's more fun to bash on the dude for how he left and everything like that, and I totally understand that. But it doesn't take away from what he was good at, and he was damn good at developing the quarterback position at Oklahoma.
No, I did not include Caleb Williams in this because of the transfer. He didn't
finish
there, but
he would have been my answer of who was going to be the best of these guys. Yeah.
He didn't have a chip. He was the chip.
Yeah.
He
had chipped fingernails is what he had. Yeah.
And I like to see what we watched him last year with Chicago. They had some of those late game heroics, kind of like what happened to them the year before. He's happy. You can see it. He's got a good group of people around him. I like what he's doing. He was built with the, doesn't mean he's going to make it, but yeah, I didn't think he doubt he's going to be good in the NFL.
So I thought Baker, like I honestly thought Baker was going to be, I felt really bad when he got drafted by the Browns. I was like, oh, that's like, because I think he's got a moxie that you can't teach it. It only happens. Right. It only kind of happens because of certain things. So he has that. And I have a really good friend that I've known since I was 4 years old who is an Eagles fan. And the minute that they drafted Jalen Hurts, he texted me, he's like, oh, God. I said, I think you're going to like this guy because he's an absolute grinder and he's a really smart quarterback, and he's got Nick Saban in his blood, and his high school coach was his dad, who's also kind of, at least in his approach, Nick Saban-ish in the way that he approaches coaching. So he's able to be coached really hard, and I think he's open to development. So I think he's just a winner. And so that would have been my second one, and I thought Kyler third only because the year before he got drafted, everybody was like, well, he's just going to take the A's money and go be a center fielder for the A's and be a stud baseball player.
That's what they said about Patrick Mahomes, too, for a long time. He's going to play baseball.
And then he broke out and won the Heisman Trophy, and it's like, well, nope.
If Kyler Murray had what's the right word here? The focus and edginess of Jalen Hurts, that would be a nightmare for NFL teams. But he's developed a little bit of a reputation now for being more involved with the video game world than the playbook. And I think Jalen Hurts has just such an insane focus, on being the absolute best at everything, and just has a great ability to kind of block out the rest to the point of it doesn't affect him, but he totally turns it into gasoline for his engine, and it fuels him in a way like no other. Baker has some of that too. I think Kyler had that at times, but I think Kyler's just like, I'll show you, and then he does it, and he doesn't really fall. He just kind of just naturally does that. Whereas I think Jalen Hurts grinds to prove people wrong. And all three were a joy to watch. Were amazing quarterbacks. I think Jalen Hurts actually got hurt by the fact that the other two were so good. I think his year at Oklahoma gets kind of diminished because of the fact that the other guys before him were so good. So by the time that he rolls around, as great as his numbers were, and they were great, everyone's like, oh, well, it's a quarterback factory now. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, they just plugged and played him. And I think benefit of hindsight, and I'm sure plenty of people acknowledged this at the time, but that wasn't fair to Jalen because he did it uniquely in his own way. And, I do think that some of that system quarterback probably didn't help for his Heisman chances or whatever. But, man, they were all three damn good. And they got a pretty good one. Mateer's not at that level, though. That was – you can say a lot about Lincoln Riley, but you cannot poo-poo what he did at the quarterback spot in Oklahoma because there's a bunch of new statues that he helped raise with what he did there in his few years.
Yeah, he has a special touch, but with what he's got right now at USC, if in fact Gary Patterson could help him just get a stop a game, right, or two, you never know what they might do going forward.
It pisses me off as Caleb Williams was a Heisman winner, but it's the school that he went to after Oklahoma.
Yep.
So under Lincoln Riley. So Lincoln Riley's got multiple Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. I mean, that speaks for itself, but you can definitely debate all the other parts of him as a coach and everything. And they're going to really, really lean heavily on Patterson, but good news for Patterson is it's not some lame duck ass offense. I mean, Jaden Mayava had a really good year last year. He was a lot better than I expected him to be. And they're going to have the playmakers around him. So, I think USC is a very intriguing team, and not just because they're a brand name and they get focused in on more, because that is true a lot of times. But, no, I think they're super intriguing what Mayaba did, and now Gary Patterson, who saw that wild card coming? That's a really interesting setup they have there heading into 26.
Well, in fact, there's an article, I think it was someone wrote an article about the most intriguing college football coaching changes or movement. And, of course, Will Muschamp at UT, Patterson at USC were some of those that were thrown into the mix. And that's a really good article in theathletic.com. Now, coming up next, we will visit with the Louisville Board of Trustees chairman on retired stockbroker says that I should not use the term white papers because he and Kim have known about that term for 30 years. Congratulations.
I will say
that's something that I had never heard of. I use it because Ross Dellinger has used it when he's reported those stories.
Yeah, I will say, though, no, like in the last 48 hours, I've seen that term used more because of those articles than I've ever seen in my entire life before this. I would say that I would bet my next paycheck that I've heard that more in the last 2 days, term white paper, in that context than I've ever heard it in like previous decades of life.
I think I've heard it on 60 Minutes before. Like, that's like when I think about, like when I heard it, like the SEC and Big Ten did a white paper, I'm like, about what? I mean,
I actually had to look
usually
it up
it's
and
about
Google,
like, usually it's about like this white paper about grain subsidies and like this is why we need to do this, or the whole state of Iowa is going to go under. More with Ed Bradley next on 60 Minutes.
He was kind of blasted away because I used that term, white paper. And so I'm sorry you guys were in the financial business and also had a lot of different proposals, I guess, using white paper. When we come back, 365 Sports continues, and Doug McNamee, the director of athletics at Baylor University, in studio with us earlier today. He'll join us at around 4:45, and this is 365 Sports. I asked Garrett, I asked Andrew, but none of them. Oh, I'm sorry, you're working. I went to Marco's Pizza. We had a meeting today. Earlier today with the interview with Doug McNamee. So it was earlier than I usually get here by like an hour. Ask Andrew, he keeps track. And so I went around the corner and I went to Marco's Pizza, just so you hear me talk about him. Garrett, thank you very much. And guess what I did? I went and bought a large, thin crust pizza. I even texted the owner, Bob Mock. He has 5 locations in Waco. This baby's almost gone. And I was hungry, lightheaded. So I went around the corner, about an 8 to 10 minute drive, picked up a pizza. Dude, what a beautiful store, by the way, the one that's in Belle Meade off of Lakeshore Drive. And I ordered it, brought it back to the station, and everyone's nibbled on it a little bit, and maybe some that had already eaten their lunch. Marco's Pizza, pizza lovers get it. Marco's Pizza, fastest growing pizza brand in America, 5 locations in Waco. Marco's Pizza, pizza lovers get it at marcos.com.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
The time is now. It's time for a new ride at the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr GMC Buick Cadillac.
Sierra blends the premium interior with the muscle of a true work truck, built to handle the job and look good doing it. It's why GMC Sierra is the best truck on the road. During our New Year New Ride sales event, qualified buyers can save $13,000 on a Sierra. Drive one home today for just $41,390.
Call now, get here now, or log on now for the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Bold are the adventurous.
Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
This is 365 Sports.
Expecting to hear from the Board of Trustees chairman at Louisville here momentarily. Still waiting for him, but we will have that in a moment. I wanted to do something. I was going to bring this up, Paul, so you brought up the one about the Heisman trophies and more. So Ralph Rousseau, theathletic.com, put out an article that said, who will be your head football coach at your school in 2030? And there were some schools that would not have any movement. This, first of all, is an impossible job. But he went ahead and did it. He said, what the heck? He wrote an article about it. Who would be the head coaches at various schools? And I'm going to go to the one. By the way, I told you this. At Florida State, Kenny Dillingham.
I will. If Kenny Dillingham winds up being the coach at Florida State, I will lose my mind. And with glee and joy. And I don't know. It's just, I don't want to promise anything that I would do because I don't know what I would do. I would get way out over my skis on that. You think a keg stand would be a big deal? No. You could. I mean, I'm not going to say anything because I'm going to wind up doing it. Look, Ralph is really smart guy.
Anytime you don't think you'll have to.
Yeah, Ralph is a really smart guy. I'm not going to do that, but I would do a lot of things to get Kenny Dillingham to Florida State.
He would be great. I mean, that's what year is this supposed to happen?
2030.
Okay, so like
4 years from now.
3-4 years from
Not
now.
much,
I mean,
yeah.
It's definitely possible. I don't know. I think if he's still around Arizona State at that point in time, he's been building there for a while, which could give reason to want to leave and go do something new. I think a lot of something like that will depend on what does 2030 look like around them. Mm-hmm. Is Florida State still in the ACC? Are they moving to somewhere else? Are they in the Big 12? No. But are they still like being led by the same types of folks? Like what's going on there?
I will make a bold prediction unless I don't think this is that bold, that unless there is an absolute water wall of success, like a tsunami of success with the football program this year, and I mean contending for the conference title until right up at the end, that there will be a new AD and football coach in 2027.
Yeah, I would think so. So that guy would, I guess, yeah, if Kenny Dillingham were to go there in 27 and he's around 3 years later, okay, yeah, I could see that.
All right, SMU. It will not be Rhett Lashley because he's headed to Clemson. And Josh Heupel at Tennessee would become the head coach at SMU.
That's actually, I can see that scenario playing out. Although I do think 4 years from now, SMU, if they keep on the track that they are, Rhett Lashley might get a bigger – Rhett Lashley might be in the NFL. He might be the Cowboys head coach for all we know. But I do think that if he does leave, they might get a better coach. I'm not trying to knock Josh Heupel. I like Josh Heupel. But I think they might be able to do better than Josh Heupel.
Yeah, I mean, this is fun to do because there's no details present, right? It's like, so did he flail out at Tennessee? Guess he would have had to have at some point, and then what does that trajectory look like? But yeah, I mean that makes sense. I'm gonna get myself lost in the weeds on stuff that's not even happened. So yeah, I don't know how that occurs, but I could see him being pushed out of Knoxville because they don't quite get where they want to be in the next couple years and decide maybe they need a new change. Given all their investing, kind of that same old song and dance. But, yeah, Josh Heupel is going to be a guy who's going to be in a head coaching position, I think, for most of the rest of our lives, most likely. And SMU would, yeah, I think be a good fit for him. But, man, they're going to do everything, as they've shown already, it takes to keep Rhett Lashley there for as long as possible, and I think they're going to make it really hard for him to leave. Now, a lot of schools do that, and the guys leave anyways. But yeah, I could totally see that scenario. That's not crazy.
Arizona, Brent Brennan, they would say is gone. 2030 would be Marcus Arroyo, Arizona State offensive coordinator.
He's going to be a head coach eventually. So, yeah.
I think that means that they've had a lot of success if Brent Brennan's not there. I think maybe if you would have asked this question prior to last year, then, okay, Brent Brennan got fired and that's how it would have gone. But now, I mean, they've extended him, right? So he's there for at least the next 2 or 3 years, and I think there's a lot of optimism about what he can do in that time. So I could see him having success continuously at Arizona, and then somebody a bit bigger comes calling. Yeah, I could see that scenario. And Marcus Arroyo, yeah, that would make some sense for them.
All right, Arizona State would lose Dillingham to Paul's FSU Seminoles and replace him with Dan Mullen, currently at UNLV and a Florida head coach in his previous career too. Earlier in his career too.
I mean, sure. Like some of these, I probably need to see like what connections there are and if those make more sense or not. I don't know just off the top of my head, but yeah, certainly Dan Mullen's going to be a guy that's already having some success at UNLV. He's going to work that into climbing back up the ladder. So Arizona State, I think, will be a really attractive job, especially the longer Kenny Dillingham's there. He'll make it more attractive. He'll raise more money and get more boosters, and it might be the thing that eventually runs him off is not being able to do it to the extent that he wants to, or just wants to chase a different dream, which is understandable as well. But I think ASU will be a hot spot for coaches, especially with Kenny Dillingham making the splash that he did so quickly last year. Like, no, you can go jump in this league and win it, and you just got to have the right guys. So right support, right guys. ASU is going to be a much better job if Kenny Dillingham leaves it than when he found it, barring some like catastrophe that we can't foresee right now. So yeah, Dan Mullen makes sense, unless he's just already kind of jettisoned up already and it happens too soon for him to grab the Arizona State job, him going back to a power school or whatever.
Paul, Baylor, G.J. Kinney in 2030.
Like that would not surprise me that would happen. I wonder if the next coach is going to be a Jeff Traylor or G.J. Kinney. I do think that one of the things that we could learn from the Art Briles scenario is that, look, if you are going to get the kind of best talent to Baylor, I think it needs to be from a coach that understands where to find it in Texas, in the places that not everybody's going. And that was one of the things he was masterful at. And I think that getting a former Texas high school coach here that has accomplished things like a Traylor or a G.J. Kinney in the next iteration of whoever that coach is, and whenever that is. Dave Aranda could turn it around this year, and he could still be the coach here in 2030 in 4 years. Who knows? But
and remember, Traylor coached Kinney, so he's a lot older.
Yeah,
he is.
But yeah,
and you wonder about 5 years from now what Jeff is doing.
But I do think that like of all the things you can pull away from the historical part of Art Briles, I think the reason he fit here so well was that he could find talent where a lot of people didn't even bother to go.
You know, one of the reasons he and Patterson didn't get along, because one, they were competing for the same things, wins in the Big 12, even though Patterson wasn't a part of it initially, and the same players in places in the diamonds in the rough around Texas.
Yeah, some of those diamonds were way too rough, though. And that's kind of what he got away with there for a little while, and would eventually let him into some trouble. But, I see the sentiment and the point that you're trying to make there. And both those guys would make sense, Traylor or Kinney. I do worry for Traylor at this point of, like, is this clock ticking as far as getting the big job that he would desire? Because I think he would leave San Antonio in a heartbeat if the right job came along. I think that's pretty clear if you listen to him closely enough. Not to say he doesn't love it there. I just think he's been there a while now at this point and is looking for maybe a new challenge or just more backing. And I know that gets tiresome to the San Antonio fan base of it's always asking for money or complaining about money or whatever. It's like, but when that's the lifeblood of what you're working with, that's your oxygen basically is the money. So you've been able to sense his frustration to the point that I know there's a lot of people that don't like Jeff Traylor at this point because they feel like he's the whiny coach. I've seen that sentiment from people. I'm very curious about just kind of his career trajectory at this point, as there's others like a Kinney now coming up who are much, much younger, right? And the hotter, cooler, whatever head coach. So, having said that, I could definitely see Kinney as the head coach at Baylor. Just hope Texas doesn't offer him before that happens. We have a repeat of him as a player, as a coach, but I think that he's a guy who's definitely got a high ceiling, but he's got some more proving to do as well. Like, it's one thing to put on cool hats and be stylistically a lot of fun football-wise. Last year they took a bit of a step back, I think, compared to expectations. So still a little bit of proving to do, I think, as a head coach.
They finished strong. Those two guys, both of their teams started poorly with Kitty and also with Traylor. BYU, Kalani Sitake is in year 11 right now. In 2030, Michigan offensive coordinator Jason Beck, the former BYU quarterback.
Do you think he's going to retire in 4 years? He's a young guy.
Yeah.
Kalani's young at heart and young in every way else.
Yeah,
He's
I know.
just-
I
don't want to see him go.
I guess if he's changing every coach in 2030, I think it's going to be Kalani Sitake. I do. And part of it is Penn State got down the road, and then BYU did what they had to do to step up to keep Kalani Sitake. If he continues to have the success, he'll be the next Lavelle Edwards, where he is the coach in perpetuity until he decides I'm going to just retire and become a wrestling commentator.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'd rather listen to him than McAfee sometimes, as far as the wrestling commentating. I'm not anti McAfee, mind you, either. I just that experience wears out after a while. So just have one guy there for a while, and just kind of switch back and forth. Give me a little bit of both. But no, I think at this point, Sitake is a BYU guy for life, in my opinion. Now, of course, that can change. Of course, it can. Any number of things could happen to cause that to change. But if I had to say, like, all right, $1,000, bank it right now on the prediction market, then I would say that Kalani Sitake is going to finish his career as a BYU Cougar.
Cincinnati.
So that's the first one where I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Here's a flip back to what it was. Cincinnati with Scott Satterfield. He's in year 4. Coming up, Luke Fickell, former Wisconsin head coach, in 2030.
So the X's getting back together to try to rekindle and hope it's better this time around, although it was really good the first time around, but make it long-lasting and make it officially marriage, I guess, the next time around. Luke Fickell I don't think is moving upward. And Cincinnati is a school with, I think, a little bit of a ceiling. So, I think that's a sizable splash that you go, that's super realistic. Like, and I don't mean anything by the ceiling comment. There's obviously it's not going to be like Nick Saban or somebody like that. So as far as big names go, you're either getting a rising guy most likely, or kind of what you have right now, which you'll probably pivot away from, or you're going back to what you're familiar with, and that would be Luke Fickell. And he did. I mean, whatever. He did take them to the 4-team playoff, the Cincinnati Bearcats. The 4, not the 12, not the 64 the Big Ten once or whatever. The 4-team playoff, he got them in that bad boy. So, I don't know what that relationship's like nowadays, though. But I guess time and money heals all wounds.
Yeah. If they were to move on for whatever reason, and I wish Satterfield the best of luck. We like him, man. Last year you could see it, Big 12 Media Days. He had that glimmer, that little glimpse in his. I could feel it, that he felt like they were going to be a lot better, and they were. Colorado, Deion's in year 4. 2030, Kenny Guyton, Wisconsin quarterbacks coach.
Kenny Guyton was a really fun player from Ohio State that I knew a bit more about because he was from Texas originally. He's been fast rising through the coaching ranks. So I think it's totally a foregone conclusion that he's going to be a head coach here in the near future. Where was that you said? Colorado. Okay.
Yeah, Deion.
I think if Deion were to have a health issue or just decide I want to be a talk show host and I can't do both anymore, or I'm gonna go have fun with was it Creechy Tran that he's dating or whatever. If Deion were to go, I think it's probably his choice, at least in the next couple of years. And Kenny Guyton would make sense, but I feel like Brendan Marion would just be a logical guy to bump up, especially if they're successful next year. So, I guess this would all depend on timing, but I could see that. I don't think that's just that makes tons and tons of sense, because there's a lot of question marks, and there's not, to my knowledge, unless Kenny Guyton was on staff at one point, I don't think there's a connection there that you're totally, that would make a lot of sense. But I don't think Deion's there in 2030. I definitely don't feel like he's there in 4 more seasons.
No, I don't think he is either. And I think that he's not in a make or break season, but he's in his.
He's in the
closer. He's in the year before a make or break season.
Yeah.
If he does not do well,
there is a group that no matter what he does, it will not be his fault if he does not succeed. They will find a way to shift the blame to he didn't have enough this or enough that. Those are the sycophants, and Deion's popular enough to have a crowd like that. And he's also got fiercely loyal people at his side as well. He's done a lot of good for Colorado, and I don't think even if they're to struggle a little bit, that there's any hot seat to speak of because they're still getting so much attention and exposure and all those things. But I do feel like those who aren't transfixed by the personality or the star power or are just massive Deion fans, that just like your regular Colorado fan that was in Boulder before all this and is going to be in Boulder after all this, I do think some of them are starting to go, all right, like, this is all cool, man. Heisman Trophy winner, like, draft picks, all great, but, like, we won 3 games last year. We got to be much better this year because this is not – if they're 4-8 or something, like, that's not trending in the right direction. And I think you start to wonder, like, okay, for all of the mystique and the stardom and all of that, like, is he a good football coach at this level? I think we're still – the jury's out on that right now.
Or can he win without the obviously the star players that he brought with him?
Right.
Travis Hunter, his son, Shador, who was a very productive quarterback.
Which is such a high bar.
Yeah.
You didn't have like a string of pretty good. Like in Travis Hunter's case, arguably is one of the greatest players in Colorado football history. Now Shador, there's debates on like where he sits all time. A lot of people, even Colorado Deion fans, were like, that's BS that he's in the Hall of Fame right away. But he was a very good player. Travis Hunter, though, I mean, yeah, they can recruit all they want. They'll never find another guy like that in the next 10 years.
Okay. No, we don't have we got to move this up because we got Doug McNamee coming up next. But go ahead and finish that thought. We're going to carry this list over to tomorrow as well. Rick Neuheisel tomorrow. We will have Willie Fritz tomorrow. And we'll also have Stacey Dales from the NFL Network on the Combine. She'll join us tomorrow,
one of the hardest working people on that network. No doubt. But
Boomer
for
yeah,
really, yeah, that's
Boomer.
right. Yeah, for Deion, I think one of the things that also happened was he had this Jackson State wave right at the beginning where he got these guys all to go to Jackson State and buy in, and then college football and the way that other coaches recruited, everybody else started doing what he did at Jackson State and then at Colorado. Much like, when we had Brandon Marcello on a few weeks ago, I asked him about Mike Norvell, and he thought Mike Norvell was the best of the transfer portal. Well, now it's turning out that maybe the two of them were the only guys using it to the level that they were using it at, and now that everybody else is, you're not finding so many studs because there's an actual market now, as there's nobody. There were plenty of coaches early on that were like, I'm only going to use it for positions I need. I'm still going to develop. And then after a year, Colorado does kind of well, and then FSU goes undefeated with a bunch of transfer guys. Everybody else is like, oh, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, I think there's something interesting to just monitor there. Like Warren Sapp's no longer with the program. You just kind of hear like whispers of like how well it was working or not, but then like the portrayal publicly is that it's all great. No, y'all are just haters trying to poke holes in this machine, and it's like, yeah, just like I don't know. I think they're on the list of most interesting teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're on the list of most interesting teams because I do think it's a really important year for Deion to kind of prove that the proof of concept is working, and they're not just going to be this, all right, we're reloading with 80 new guys again next year. Like, okay, you can do that a couple times, but like eventually that can't be the game plan if it's resulting in 3-9. So really intrigued by the Brennan Marion hire, the quarterback options, and just some of the kind of twists and turns and changes of this offseason. They're a really interesting team. And I do think to finish it out, the Baylor job and G.J. Kinney, like that makes a ton of sense. If you would have said Jeff Traylor, that would have made sense. If you said like any number of other guys, like, I don't know, some random OC or something, like, yeah, that all makes sense. But I am also just very interested in what a coaching search under Doug McNamee looks like, because we saw it a couple times with Mack Rhodes, but Doug's different than Mack Rhodes. They don't think the same. And I would just be really interested in kind of what route they would decide to go, because Mac didn't go the typical route. Everybody's like, Texas guy. How about a dude from Jersey? Okay. Or was it New York, actually, right?
No, it was Jersey.
Okay, Jersey. And then it was, all right, he leaves. Texas guy, offensive Texas guy. How about the quiet Shinobi DC from LSU? Okay. Like, not at all what people wanted. So I would be curious. Doug, the fan pleaser, I think would deliver on like a Texas guy and high-flying offense, and G.J. Kinney would absolutely check those boxes.
Yeah, it'll. And we again are about to play the interview. He was in studio with us for the second time since he was hired, and we have that. And we even at the end asked him about eventually decisions on coaching changes or not, based on success and or hey, they're pretty good people and they represent the university well, but eventually you have to win. So we'll carry over this list. And by the way, Kalani Sitake would not be at BYU, according to Ralph Rousseau, because he would be the head coach at Washington. And Jed Fish would be moving to the East Coast.
I don't know. I mean, this is what I said back during the Sitake conversation previously. Is like, I don't think he's got any reasons to leave BYU unless there are reasons we wouldn't be privy to. Like, I want to live on the West Coast proper. I want to live on the East Coast proper. I want to be in a Eastern, Western, Southern-based college town. Like, besides those things that we would have no idea about and he would never say publicly because he wouldn't do that in his position, besides that, I don't see any reason for him to leave, not for the Washington job, not for any of those jobs. Like, no.
No, I think if he continues to coach, that's going to be where it is.
I mean, Ralph did a thought exercise of changing all the coaches, so you had to make him go somewhere.
And there's some really other intriguing, like who A&M was going to have in 2030 and how many coaches who are at where they are now will move on. And there's a handful that will be staying, according to Ralph. It's an impossible task, but it's fun to do. When we come back, we will hear from Baylor's Director of Athletics, Doug McNamee. We'll have the quizzes, the polls, the wheel, and much more. I'll try to recoup with Larry Benz of Louisville's Board of Trustees. If we do, this is 365 Sports. QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics. Man, my hip every day hurt. Every day ached. Every night when I went to bed, I had to kind of like, you know, okay, am I on this side or I'm on this side because my hip hurt. QC Kinetics, medical professionals use the latest regenerative treatments backed by real science. Treatments that take the tiny, powerful healing tools inside your own body, concentrate them right where you need relief. So example, they take blood out of my left arm. They spin the plasma, and then they come back and inject it in my lower back and or near my right hip. Because some of my lower back having aches and pains or just grouchy creates the problem at times in my right hip. Training for whatever you are and you need a little help, or you've had something that just for whatever reason doesn't feel the same, it hurts, and you run, lift weights, basketball, playing golf, QC Kinetics, making and helping patients feel better and getting relief, feeling younger, jumping back into life full speed. I did my hour-long cycle class today. I did it last week, and when I walked out, I was sweating really well, and I felt really good. Regenerative medicine, utilizing your own natural biologics that's inside of your body. QC Kinetics, I went there and got a consultation, free consultation in September, and I've had treatments ever since, and I have another one in my back pocket if I want to use it, but I don't need it right now. They have platelet-rich plasma, stem cells. They will find what's in your body, spin it, take it out, spin it, and put it back in your body. You will feel better. It's worth the consultation alone. Here are the numbers at the bottom of the screen in Dallas, 972-972-8610. In Houston, 713-913-5285. It worked for me. It can work for you at QCkinetics.com.
As my go-to guy, can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco. .365 Sports, Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoak, and off To our right, with the first time on the new set here at 365 Sports, Baylor Director of Athletics, Doug McNammy. It's always growth in college athletics. It's been growth and expansion for us, too.
Every time I come back, man, it's getting better and better. I can't wait to see what I'll see next time here.
You have a lot on your plate. Obviously, still a short amount of time. But the three main sports, and two of them the revenue sports, football, men's basketball, and then women's basketball, they're all down from what has been the case. Sometimes up and down. But all three of them are like lagging behind with the TCUs and the Texas Techs. And here comes Houston. And yeah, you're trying to make all that better, as are the coaches. But is that a concern for you?
Yeah, we obviously welcome more success across the board. But, you know, you say that. Women finished one game out of first, you know, in the Big 12. You know, our men have set such a standard with Coach Drew that not making the tournament is a huge disappointment, and that's a byproduct of the success he's created. But this is a team that's on the heels of a long consecutive streak of making the tournament, and I don't think this is a long stretch for Coach. I think we're going to be bouncing right back next year. And football, obviously, well discussed. I mean, we're 1 year removed from the Colorado play, you know, tying for first place in the regular season. So this isn't some long drought of success. Certainly would love to have greater success in postseason in both football and men's basketball, and would love for our women to have won a couple more games and won the Big 12 championship. But I think we need to keep that in context of the larger picture. We've set a high standard of what we hope to achieve, and when you don't hit it, it's worthy of saying what do we need to do to correct to get back on track. But I think it's important to keep it in context of the greater and understand maybe where we are comparative to where we could be.
How much of this was the timing of, you know, Rob Wright obviously departed kind of after they had thought that they were going to build the team around him, and point guards in the transfer portal they're not going to stay on the shelf very long.
Sure.
So when they had to go back in, it kind of changed what they did, and he was obviously priority one, so then priority twos and threes could kind of got kicked down the road. So how much of this is just kind of maybe a timing issue? Because the last time you were here, I asked you about the resources, and you said it's not a resource issue when it comes to basketball.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Scott built that roster with a point guard and a specific point guard in mind, and so I think that had significant impact on the circumstances. And once you lost that individual, then you're scrambling. You're with Plan B, your Plan C. But there were, I think, and Scott, we spent 2 hours this morning together reflecting on what we need to do to make next year a better year for us. And I think there were other circumstances that presented itself. Having Rob on the team wouldn't have affected defense. That's certainly an opportunity for us to get better as well too. So it had significant impact, Paul. But I think we were going to have our fair share of challenges this year. Even with that point guard in place. And I think while this is difficult to navigate, I'd argue sometimes the worst spot to be is right in the middle. Like there's value in going through hopefully a brief stretch where we've experienced some hardship, because I think that it's going to force us to really address some deeper changes that we need to make. And Scott has reinvented himself consistently in his career, and I think anybody betting against Scott Drew is making a bad decision.
You guys announced the Baylor Backyard Live pregame concert series. There's been more events here recently at McClain that seems to have been a big success. You mentioned Foster in that brand new building. You've got some nice toys to play with that feel like they haven't been fully unlocked. Do you feel like you've got a lot of potential with what's going on there?
I do, and I think back to basketball, Craig. That Arizona game, and it wasn't a full house. We had more Arizona fans than we needed to. But there were moments in that game with the energy where it just felt like Foster had come alive. And I think we've seen little sneak previews of what that building can be on a consistent basis. But if you think about the last few years since we've been in Foster, have been down comparatively where we were the 3 years prior to that, I can't wait to experience that building on the men's side with a team that's challenging for the Big 12 championship. And, you mentioned a couple things as it relates to McClain. I mean, there's been a lot of positive feedback in terms of the initiatives that we've put forth. We've had, 200 plus new inquiries as it relates to tailgating since we made the announcement on some of the changes we're making from a tailgate perspective. And so I'm very optimistic that we're going to walk into that stadium that second week of September on that Saturday, and there's going to be a tremendous amount of energy from our fans.
there's revenue sharing, there's NIL, and it's uncapped right now, basically.
Yeah.
Are you in a position, and we discussed this with you about the money you have available with donors, et cetera, but can you almost do a study or a survey of what others are spending compared to what you are spending, and is there a gap?
And it's the greatest challenge is because there's just no central data point of truth. And so, you hear things in the media, agents are incentivized to inflate, players are incentivized to inflate. The bigger the numbers, the more that it continues to push everything up. I think that's one of the greatest challenges that administrators and coaches face, and this is you have no idea what truth is. And what you don't want to do is put yourself at a significant disadvantage, but you also don't want to bid against yourself. And so I think that's definitely one of the greatest challenges is you really have no idea where you stand. I think there's enough discussions where you get some ideas and where you stack up, and you have enough people you trust and say, hey, this is solid, where I feel good to have an idea. And I've got a general sense of where we stack in the grand scheme of things, at least in the Big 12 conference. But the numbers are out there that are wild, and they're on all ends of the spectrum. And I've told our coaches that I don't want to be in the business of rumor mongering and trading based and making decisions based on unsubstantiated figures that are out there. But it definitely creates a significant challenge for us.
You pretty much have to get to a certain kind of a high number that you know that you can be consistently competitive at, and then have to deal with the rumors around that, right? Because you could say, okay, well, Texas says that the rumor is that it's $40 million. Mm-hmm. So you've got to get to 40. Well, they might have floated that out there because they're actually at 60. Yeah. And then, or they don't want people to know they're at 40 because they want people to think that they're lower than that so that they don't also have to spend $40 million.
Yeah, there's little benefit for anyone to be truthful in the equation.
Mm-hmm.
And generally speaking, it just means nobody talks.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think you have to have a very sound idea internally of this is what we're going for and this is what we think will provide us the resources to be competitive, and not only competitive, but to win. And then you got to stick to it. I think if you're in a reactionary environment, first of all, from a negotiation perspective, I think that's detectable on the other side. When they think there's just an unlimited amount of ability to flex on that, I think that provides weakness, and you've got to be confident to say, hey, this is what we're working in. Let's go make sure we go get the greatest value possible. It's just like having a fixed number on your scholarships. We've been an industry that has operated with limitations in the past. We should still remain that way, and you've got to have clarity as far as where you're at and what's reasonable, and then build your roster with that in mind. And I think taking a proactive approach to that is a far better path than just be reactionary to see, well, let's determine where the market swings us. I think that's a dangerous spot to be in.
So given what we're talking about, this seems like a good time to ask this question. We've talked not only previously, but you've talked at length with other interviews about just how different everything is, probably ad nauseum for you. So this is one of those areas you're talking about that did not exist 5 or 10 years ago. If there's like a 20-year-old who's wanting to be an AD, there's the traditional path, of course, and kind of the things that you do to become that. But what's an area or two of expertise or skills that you would recommend and say, like, if you're going to be an AD, this is where I would definitely spend some more time to be prepared for what that might look like one day?
Well, if you could do it, I think entrepreneurially starting your own business and building something from ground up and having to experience, going out and asking people for money and knowing what that process looks like. I don't know if you could replicate that in a better way. I use the analogy of I'm writing an investor deck as we speak. I'm writing an investor deck, and I need you as the coach, you as the program, to give me the story to put in that investor deck, to go out to the marketplace and to find people who are willing to buy in and to support the program. And that could look a lot of different ways between individuals, businesses, university, all the external factors that come into the equation. Give me a story that I can go sell. That's what we need, and that looks a lot different in different programs. Right now for our men's basketball program, people know and believe in Scott Drew as a coach. And yes, success this year was not where we had expected it to be, but people believe in what he's doing beyond just potentially what's happening on the court. And they also know his track record of bouncing back, and there's a belief that this will flip pretty quickly. So I think, to answer your question directly, Craig, it's the entrepreneurial mindset of understanding what it is to create a vision, to sell an idea, and then actually go out and find the funding to build it. And I think that historically in college athletics, there's always been a need to fundraise. That has always existed. But really to fundraise and to on the core aspect of what we do, as opposed to, hey, we're just going to we're going to go fundraise and build a building. But really, no, we really need funding now to operate the enterprise. I think that has become more and more a vital part of what we do. And so from a skill set standpoint, having the ability to understand how to create that vision, sell it, and then adequately communicate with those people who have invested is a essential skill.
If someone says no to you, is it apathy? Is it they're not so sure where you're going? Is it they just don't have any more money?
Yeah.
Is it kind of all of the above?
Well, first of all, no is a heck of a lot better than a maybe.
It is.
So I'll take the no all day long. You
Absolutely.
guys understand sales 101. You get it. And maybes cloud your pipeline, and you think there's more opportunity than what actually it is. And so the no I can respect and appreciate. But right now, there's a lot of ways. I think the key thing for us is in athletics and in leadership is meet people where they're at. And for some people, NIL is not of interest. Some people believe in Baylor athletics and believe in the opportunity of a student athlete coming to experience Baylor more than ever, but they don't necessarily like or want to be a part of the NIL aspect of it, and that's okay. There are other ways, and there are great needs for us as a department that are necessary to allow those people to tap in more than ever. We need to find those people we're at, and for the people that do want to support an NIL, we need to be very clear and show how they can be a part of it, whether that means they want to help with $100 or $100,000. We need to make that opportunity clear for them.
Doug, you have made it a point. You're the fan, all those different things, because of your perspective of 6-7 years as a fan. You were outside of the athletic department, and you get to see it from another side. When you hear complaints in an athletic department before, I know a lot of times you're like, okay, this one's valid, or oh my God. But then when you actually had to go live it, how much did that inform the things that you've been doing, especially improving the tailgating area, which you actually helped build the first time around, and then you came back and it was very, very different?
Yeah, I mean, there's whatever our Houston game was. It was late November game, right? I don't know, November 15th or something is where that was on the schedule. November 15th, I walked into that stadium with my two daughters as a fan, season ticket holder, buying concessions, went and got food for them. And then December 6th is when I accepted the job. So 2 to 3 weeks before accepting the job, I was walking into the stadium experiencing everything like the fans that we are so fortunate to have. And so that relatability, first of all, I think that's pretty rare, in anybody to have that experience on such a fresh nature. But that relatability has driven everything. I remember the stroller conversation and navigating that with my two girls and being frustrated with that. And that's something we've changed. Tailgating wise, I remember the individuals that were not affiliated with the university that saw Floyd Casey and saw that engagement and used that as a way to get connected. It was a front porch to people who had little to no interest in Baylor, but they saw it as a fun party. And they came there to hang out, meet new people, and all of a sudden, hey, here's an extra ticket. Come in there and pop in and watch the game. And then they see the game, and they're like, this is incredible. This is fun. And there's just something about the connectivity of a Saturday in college football, which brings people in. And I think, to put it back in a little bit of business jargon, if you think about like customer acquisition in a funnel capacity, the top of the funnel, you don't get them to the bottom until you get them in on the top. And there was a lack of intentionality of how do we get more people into the top of the funnel. And everything that we've done, whether it be lowering concession prices or really trying to make tailgating easier, all the things that we're doing is how do we get more people into the top of the funnel so that hopefully if we serve them well, they'll migrate down into the bottom of it.
And if you don't mind, one of the things is that they went to a separate entity to run it. And it's almost like they turned their back on those people. Why would you have ever done that in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, in defense of them at the time, I think they looked at the time required to service that group and the financial opportunity. And in the short term, if you just purely look at it, the trade-off probably wasn't there in terms of justifying amount of energy and effort. My mindset is with all this is like we got to play the long game. We got to get more people into the top of the funnel. And candidly, I don't care if tailgating is a revenue source for us. I know we're talking all about right now. We've got to maximize every dollar. I'll forego revenue on tailgating. I'll forego revenue on concessions because, in my opinion, you get people attracted. They come back into the fold because of tailgating. They stick around at a game because concessions prices are reasonable. They start to be a fan. Then they come to you and say, hey, I want to buy season tickets, or I want to buy a Bear Foundation membership, or I want to support NIL. Those are short-term investments, and I'm thankful that we're in a position where we can do that. Those are short-term investments, in my opinion, to buy the long-term loyalty of those individuals. And I think those are all examples of that, and we're playing the long game with those individuals.
It was announced recently you're going to have a fan fest coming up for the spring, I guess what would typically be a game. But I guess, A, how excited are you just kind of be around football this spring and just sort of see how it all works? And B, compared to when you left in 2018, how different do you view like the spring and a spring game and how all that works into the schedule?
Yeah, so Friday in my office, Craig, I was sitting there working with my back to the windows, and I heard the whistles on the field for the first time.
Oh,
and
cool.
Vic had the guys out there working out and doing the outside workouts at that point, not obviously playing, but these were actual workouts. And there was something special just hearing the guys doing the up downs and the sprints on the field, and for the first time turning in my office and looking out the windows and seeing, oh, that's your office and you get to watch the football team.
You got the best view, yeah.
I got a heck of a view. That was pretty special. So just hearing that energy, it was 80 degrees, and I'm like, this is pretty special. We're in Texas. We got football going on in February. It's 80 degrees and we got the whistles going. So fired up in that regard. Your second part of that question.
Just spring games have kind of gone to the wayside.
Sorry. Yeah. So here's what I'd say about spring games. Fans want to win, and fans want to have fun. Mm-hmm. And how do spring games fit into that? And I'm not saying that in like the answer is they don't at all. But unless if the coaches don't see a value to helping us be prepared to win in the fall, and the fans aren't enamored, and there's a better way to serve the fans, then to me, why are we doing it? It goes back to like, let's evaluate everything. And if that's not beneficial for the program, if Coach Aranda's not like, I need a spring game to get us ready for the fall. If he came in and said that was important, then I'd say, let's do the spring game. If he's like, hey, I'm going to have my practices, that's critical for us. We need to get the playbook in. We need to see what we got from a talent standpoint and get to work. And at the end of it, honestly, we'd rather not have a spring game. Well, then the question becomes, what do we do to serve our fans the best? And so it's a fan fest. It is prioritizing the fan. The objective of that day is people come to the game, they have a great time. Sorry, they come to the fan fest, not the game, but they come to the event. They have a great time, and they're hungry and fired up about the fall. And, spring games are kind of in a no-win, maybe no-lose situation. Yeah. Where you're like, well, what the offense is great. You're like, well, our defense is going to be awful this year. The defense is great. And you're like, we're not going to score a single point all year. So you come out of it, and I just don't know what success really looks like. And if coach is not needing that for his own trajectory to develop the team, then let's turn it into something that's focused on benefiting the fans.
Let's say if and when Baylor football is back into the national spotlight and competing to win a Big 12 title, and there have been a chunk of those the last 15 years, is it true that if you host a game on your campus at McClain Stadium, and a lot has been discussed about alcohol sales, revenue, et cetera, does the college football playoff own the stadium and also want alcohol sales within McClain Stadium? And if you were to say no, do you have to pay them a fee, or is any of that true?
Yeah, I love your question because I think it's just saying any update on alcohol. but let me answer the question first and just say, I know that if you're hosting like in a women's basketball capacity, right, it's an NCAA event. It's the NCAA that owns the event, and you're just merely a host in that regard. And so NCAA governing rules as far as the facility trump that, and that usually means no signage. It makes it a very sterile, neutral environment. And so I don't know exactly if CFP operates in the same capacity if they actually own the event. There are circumstances of events that have been hosted in our facilities that have had alcohol sales as part of them. And so certainly that precedent exists. I would just say to what the question I know that you're probably interested in is where are we in that discussion? It is still an ongoing due diligence environment to weigh out pros and cons, understand what the financial opportunity is, and then provide that to a larger decision-making body above my head to ultimately determine if that's in the best interest collectively for Baylor.
Are there potential donors that would walk away if you did that?
I mean,
some of them are on record that they don't want it. That doesn't mean they won't accept it.
Yeah, I think everyone has a strong opinion. There's a lot of strong opinions. There probably could be some arguments made on the other side of the equation. I think what what we have to be respectful is just to hear those perspectives, ensure that we're doing the due diligence. I think that's what's expected by all of that group that has an opinion at all is, hey, do your homework. Make sure you hear all sides of the equation. Make sure you've understood and you've weighed out the pros and cons. And as long as you do that in a way that's respectful, that's inclusive of all perspectives, then I think that the university and those that love it will ultimately be comfortable with what's decided.
There have been 2 white papers released in the last week about the SEC and Big Ten did one together, which was kind of surprising. And then Louisville released one yesterday about their positions on revenue sharing when it comes to the TV deals and all of those things. How do you feel about those things? And again, you're just the AD at Baylor, so like your individual opinion only goes as far as where your vote goes in the Big 12, right? But how do you feel about those things, and do you at least like seeing some discussion about it, even if it's right now so far apart?
Yeah, I mean, I've said this consistently. I'll say it again. My number one priority is to understand the current parameters that we have to work with and ensure Baylor's best position to navigate that. I think any time spent away from that, especially with the newness for me in this seat, is probably not the best usage of time. That being said, I would also be lying to you if you weren't paying attention to it, if you didn't watch it. I got to see Josh from Louisville, the AD there, at our game a couple weeks ago and texted him. I thought that was a very strong piece, that they had provided a lot of data that should be considered. And certainly it followed the back and forth with the SEC and the Big Ten and their response and Cody Campbell's response. I think, I would say this: something's got to be done. I've told our department and our coaches, we're not going to stand by and wait for that to happen. We're not going to just say, hey, this is not sustainable. Something's got to get done, and then hope it solves quickly and there's some normalcy and some stability that comes back. I think those that do that will get left behind. So we're going to mobilize immediately with what we have to work with. But I would also say to you that most of the stuff that's being shared and communicated about, donor fatigue, just some of the unsustainable financials that are associated with this environment are real, and they must be solved. And we're well represented in that conversation. Our president is highly respected and is involved at the top levels of those discussions. I'm watching it. I'm trying to be as informed as possible, but I would tell you my biggest priority is we know what we've got to work with right now. How do we best position Baylor for that?
Donor fatigue is an interesting thing, and we might have talked about this last time, but you're also, when you ask for the kind of money you're asking for people who more than likely have not lucked into this. They have worked for the money, they know how to make investments. So for a lot of it, NIL, at least to me, and I don't have that kind of money, Doug. I know because you haven't called me lately. But no, but I don't have that
Keep
kind
your
of
phone
money.
handy.
Yeah, not
You're
yet
next.
anyway.
You're next.
But I do know that some of it sounds like it would be lighting money on fire to me. Like, you want to pay for this? Well, how much do we have to pay for collectively as an alumni base to get this team good enough? And why is what we've paid already not being used in that capacity? Those are the questions that you have to answer all the time. So to me, the solution would be for the universities and the NCAA to figure out how to go to the donors to just supplement it and not for almost all of it.
Yeah. First of all, Mike Alford reached out and said, "Please don't call Paul. He's on the list." So just so you know, the situation is real that you described in terms of just trying to understand how it works. I mean, I try to compare it to, like, it would be if you put it into pro sports, it'd be Jerry Jones saying, "Hey, there's a potential free agent that I'm interested in getting for the Cowboys. I'm going to go canvass the season ticket holders and see how much money I can raise to decide if we want to bring this player in or not." I mean, that really would be the equivalent of what we're doing in college sports today. And you just couldn't fathom that as possibly feasible in pro sports. And so, I mean, it's definitely a challenging proposition, because oftentimes, people want to give to something that has longevity and legacy. It's why, raising money for a building that has, a long-term shelf life to it is something that people have always done. Scholarships, endowments are something that are relatively easy to raise to, because it goes even further than a building. An endowment is in perpetuity. You're giving a gift that will spin off for the rest of the existence of the institution. And so the idea of something having such a short-term impact is definitely a challenging proposition. There are certainly individuals who understand it and are willing to support it. And I think that we have to identify who those are and to really to see what moves the needle for them and work hard to earn their trust. And I would say that the benefit for us with a lot of our coaches is that there's a long-lasting impact that we believe student athletes can have, even in a brief period of time. I think, look at Norchad Ormir's statements last year at the end of the season and talk about how much he was impacted by being on that basketball team. It went far beyond anything wins and losses. And so I think when you see that and you hear that, then it's a little easier to give to a cause specific like NIL.
So acrobatics and tumbling.
Let's go.
Let's
go.
You have a dynasty with Felicia Mulkey.
Yeah.
Double-digit national titles.
Right.
It's a rapidly growing sport. Like I remember going on the Baylor Athletics YouTube page, and I don't pay close attention, but it was noticeable enough. There was like 60,000 new followers in the span of like a month. And I'm looking at the videos, I'm like, how is that I was convinced you guys had like bought followers or something, because I was like, how is that even possible? What I didn't see was the shorts tab. And the shorts tab was all these A&T videos that were getting like 100,000 views, 150,000 views. Then I turn to TikTok and it's like just insane. Baylor A&T is like this thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's now becoming an NCAA sport, the vision of some of your predecessors, of Felicia Mulkey. Just how exciting is that? And how much of a burgeoning sport and just potential riddled kind of opportunity do you see here with acrobatics and tumbling taking a big step up to NCAA status?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting juxtaposition conversation to segue from an NIL
It
discussion
is,
to something like this.
Yeah.
But it's one that I think it drives what the college athletic experience is all about. I mean, as it relates to Felicia, I mean, she is the John Wooden of A&T. 10 straight national championships. She literally invented the sport. Her team operates at the definition of excellence. You spoke about some of the viral numbers. There's a move that they currently call the Mo. I don't know if you guys have seen. I'd actually like to see if the three of you would try to recreate it on your own.
I don't know what it is, but I bet we can.
No, you don't. Afterwards, you'll look at it. But there's a move where it's. I won't even describe it. I'd be doing an injustice by describing it. But you watch it, and it just looks impossible. And it is pure strength and just athleticism from a few individuals that are just off the charts. And I checked it on the way over here. They posted that, I think, yesterday on Instagram. 3.6 million views. 3.6 million views. So where I want to go with this is two things. One, it's a great example of a sport operating at the highest level, and we are fortunate that Baylor has because of Felicia Mulkey, has defined that sport. But back to the larger conversation, there are young girls who are watching, involved at cheer and different aspects of what acro and tumbling represents, that are getting exposure to Baylor University that would have never ever had that. There's 3.6 million views all over the world for people that are watching this insane move, but they're seeing Baylor all across the chest of those individuals. And the great thing about that, from dollars and cents, what would you pay for that advertising to promote the university in that way? Jason Cook would pay a premium on that to have the opportunity to promote the university. And that's a byproduct of the investment in college athletics, and specifically our acro and tumbling program. There's just so much momentum. There's so much energy. I have a lot of respect because Felicia's proactively trying to address the watchability, the speed of the way they operate. One of the challenges of acro and tumbling has been there's been large pauses in the event in between competitions, and they understand to get viewership up and get people attending the game and speaking the match to speak highly about it, they need to make it faster, just like baseball's doing. So they're trying to cut down times, and it's under 2 hours. You go to a acro and tumbling meet and it's under 2 hours. It's fantastically entertaining. It's very affordable. It's the best 2 hours of entertainment you're going to find on a Saturday afternoon right now in college sports in a lot of ways. And so I just think there's a lot of momentum, and it's a good reminder to say, like, this is what we're doing and what this is about, and giving young girls an opportunity to participate. And back to the larger conversation, we better not do anything that messes that opportunity up. If this larger discussion creates a negative impact for a sport like that, then we should all look ourselves in the mirror and say we've messed this thing up, because it's been so good for so many kids.
Well, I would also say that numbers-wise, when it comes to scholarship, it's one of the few things that you can not maybe completely match football on, but when you're trying to balance things out for Title IX, if you've got a 105 scholarship sport, you need something that's for women that could go to 50 or 60.
It helps in both scholarships and roster size, both of which are metrics in the Title IX equation. And it just gives, put all the legalities aside, it gives young girls a chance to be a part of college athletics in a really special way.
You wonder what's going to happen now that it is an NCAA championship, how other schools will start to commit to it now that it is. I asked you this the first time you were here about coaches and how you have to at some point make decisions about them. I would think that Dave Aranda is back for another year. There was a lot of things going on, but also he's a hell of a guy. How do you, and is there anything any mechanism that clicks in about the difference between somebody, no matter who the coach is or sport, who's great, unbelievably good for the school, and yet they need to win more? How do you mesh those two together?
Yeah, well, first of all, I had my first head coach meeting with just myself and our 13 head coaches. I've met with each of them individually numerous times since we got started, but I had them all in a room, and it was fantastic last week. It was a really, really special moment for me to get a chance to talk to them as a collective group. But back to your point about being a great person, being a great ambassador, being a great reflection of the university, which Dave Aranda is all of the above, and the need to win. It goes a little bit to where what I mentioned as far as, Craig, your question as far as, a skill set. I need to garner additional support to get our football program where it needs it to be. I need to give coach the ability in the next go-around on the portal and retention of current student athletes, greater resources and support to be successful. Like, that's my responsibility, is to help create that. And so coach's responsibility is to give me the ammunition, to give me the story to tell within that investor deck, to make it palatable to go get those people and to go get the businesses and go get the resources necessary lined up to allow us to be most successful. And so, it comes down to give me the story. I need you to give a story that I can go sell on your behalf with you alongside me. And without it, we find ourselves in a little bit of a cycle where it's hard to garner resources, and then it becomes difficult to compete. And so you've got momentum in the sport. In college athletics is such an important thing. People want to believe in it. They want to feel trajectory in a way that gives them excitement. I think that as it relates to our program, we need to flip that trajectory. We need to flip that momentum. We need to have energy and excitement with our fan base and with external NIL sources to allow them to have the resources to then be able to double down and go compete even more in the offseason, to give us the roster that we need, that we ultimately believe can allow us to compete for the highest levels of success in college football.
How much of a story did DJ Lagway give you there?
Great. I mean, and here's the thing. It's a great story. And that's the epitome of first of all, from a marketability standpoint, that kid is dynamite. And any business would be crazy not to want to get their brand behind him. And so, he's a great story. But for us let's think about it from an athletics perspective. I mean, that guy being the face of your program and being the leader is what he's what college football should be about. He's a great kid. He's academically sound. He works hard. Teammates respect him. And he's a really good football player. And I think as we talk about the fall 26 season, there's a fun off-season head. I can't wait in spring practice to see him and the rest of the team. There's a lot of other talented quarterbacks behind him as well too. But just the energy and the hope and the optimism, he symbolically represents, I think, a generally really strong portal class. And so a lot of energy and optimism as we approach the season. And as I said before, I think I'm excited about the way the season sets up. A great opportunity for that first game to go on the road and compete. And we've got 3 straight home games. And I like the first half of our schedule to build momentum. And then at that point, who knows what could happen.
Thanks for dropping by.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
Baylor's Director of Athletics, Doug McNamee, with us on 365 Sports. And that's earlier today. Thanks to Doug. Appreciate the time for being on with us earlier, and also his interview today. By the way, I did talk to the Louisville Board of Trustees. He was on an airplane flight, so we'll try to reset that up. Now, here we go, the wheel. There we go. Thank you.
Okay. Which era of the NBA had the toughest competition? No easy nights. I would say the Jordan era.
Yeah, I mean, you see this discourse a lot, and especially in NBA fandom circles. I think it's just a preference of what age you are and when you grew up. But yeah, I mean, I'd say late 80s, early 90s in particular. I mean, I don't know, Shaq and Tim Duncan, those guys got pretty physical as well. So whatever you would consider that, the Jordan era, I guess. I think he was a bit more physical. And I can't speak to the 70s or the 60s or even much of the 80s. I know the 80s with the Pistons and Celtics going at it and all that was pretty rough and tumble as well. I would say the easy answer is not right now. I mean, it's definitely not right now. I know that much.
I with my age, it affects it because back in the day, in the late 60s, early 70s, you had Lou Alcindor, then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, some great centers back then. The Lakers and Celtics weren't the only one. The Knicks were really, really good. But when you're talking about, like, depth of the league, I don't really have enough history on the NBA. But the Magic, Larry Bird, Celtics, Lakers type run, that was pretty magical. That was pretty magical.
What was the question again?
Which is the no easy nights era.
Yeah,
the best one.
You talking about
I was approaching that more of like a toughness thing. Okay, so I didn't. So that's how I read that. It show you how people can read it.
I
differently.
think it's definitely not this one because there's plenty of easy nights.
The highest concentration of the top 25 players of all time played during the decade of the 80s.
Yeah, so the 80s and 90s to me would have been the toughest. The early 90s, when you go from the Lakers and Celtics to Pistons and Bulls, the Knicks were very, very good during that time. The Magic, right at the end of it, had Shaq and Penny, and they were really, really good. And the way that the basketball was played, plus the rules of the game made every game a little bit more tense because there were things that they're allowed to do now but that they weren't allowed to do back then. So I think that's a big deal to me that they
the Shaq Penny was not until the early 90s, so they wouldn't be a part of it.
I said that. I said the 80s and early 90s is what I said.
Yeah.
So like you went through that, and then Shaq Penny, and then I would say I don't know if it ended, but like when the Bulls' second three-peat ended at the end of the 90s, then the game changed after that, and not just because Jordan left. Like they started. A lot of rules were different. The coaching was different. It
was like a passing of time.
The player movement was different. They had an era before Kobe got really elite. He was still a fantastic player, but before he got to that point of where he was running the league, this like little 5-year period where you could see Kobe getting there, but the rest of the stars in the league were like Steve Francis, and it just wasn't as fun. It wasn't as good, and I think that led into some of the things we have.
And that would have been the Spurs' first trip, right, with Robinson and Duncan. All right, in the movie Field of Dreams, the mysterious voice tells by Ray Kinsella, if you build it, he will come. Where was the iconic baseball diamond actually built for the film?
It's in Dyersville, Iowa.
Okay. You said
and
that
it's
pretty
still
quickly?
There. Well, yeah, it's one of my favorite movies. And yes, it's in Dyersville, Iowa.
The big cornfields in the back?
Yes.
There we go.
So, yeah, and so there's a big debate between the two owners of it, but they kept the field. Someone's this side and that side, and they have the Field of Dreams game there every so often, which I love. So I hope they do that every other year or so.
All right, Dyersville.
On March 3rd, 1920, the Montreal Canadiens set an NHL record that still stands. How many goals did they score against the Quebec Bulldogs in that game?
If it wasn't against the Nordiques, it didn't count. I have no idea.
I have no idea. I'm going to guess 16.
No.
Maybe it's 24. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll guess 16. I have no earthly idea either.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, there we go. 16-3. I could just not imagine a 24-goal NHL game. Because to me, especially since then.
In an all-star game, maybe.
Especially not even then. Like, especially now the way it goes. Like, if I had 8 goals, I'm just not going to worry about it, and I'll keep everybody back and make sure they don't get any good shots. So
16 goals in a game.
16 goals. So, multiple hat tricks.
Yeah.
Multiple hat tricks. Massive scoring surge in the third period. No team has managed to hit the 16-goal mark to this day.
By the way, the Stars have won 9 straight.
Yeah, they're a good team.
They're a red-hot team. All right. Craig?
Paul, are you a fan of the Big 12's LED glass court? 44% yes, it's the future, and 56% say no, keep the wood. So I think it's cool. It does really nothing for me, though. Like, it doesn't change my opinion on the game itself or really enhance it all that much. Maybe for the folks in attendance, and we'll see when it's on television here. But, yeah, I mean, it's really not that big of a deal to me, and I'm not trying to, like, poo-poo on it either. But, yeah, I'm fine with the way that it was. I don't – especially when – like, one of the things brought up was, oh, look, they're playing commercials. Oh, goody. Oh, a new way to watch commercials. Yeah. Fantastic. Bring on more glass courts so we can have more ways to watch commercials.
I don't mean to be someone who makes money on advertising dollars and then say commercials are bad.
Sure.
But, I mean, if that's the real reason we're doing this, then it's not going to do anything for me. Just give me the wood and put a sticker on it. Like, that's to me. Now, it's amazing and cool, and if they find better ways to do it than just run advertisements on it, then great. But if it's just a big commercial, then, you know.
Right, yeah. I mean, you got to have advertisements to have a business.
Yeah,
and
no,
like
I get it.
We're an example of that. And yeah, like it would be – I mean, I think there's certain partners we have that we'd want to keep on regardless of if we could go commercial free. But, yeah, if you just had somebody underwrite it, then that'd be great. And you didn't have to deal with it at all. And there's a lot of people that, man, just are so impatient. They can't deal with like 10 seconds of not what they're looking for. It's really kind of – it's not like they have a good point about it. It's like I think you need to like pay attention to how short your attention span is if you can't last like 20 seconds without mainstreaming content. But – nevertheless, yeah, we'll see how it is in the execution because they don't need to put commercials on courts to have a viable business. They already have one. It's just how greedy are they trying to get?
Yeah. And look, I remember thinking about like when YouTube Premium pops up on my screen, like, can I not like leave the room for 35 seconds?
Exactly,
like,
dude. Yeah, I'm with you.
Is that when I can go refill my water?
I actually look forward to a commercial sometimes, but I see enough people, and I know some of it's probably just bots at this point, but because those do exist, just not when people try to conveniently use that when they exist. But yeah, I find like the lack of an ability to sit somewhere and just sit through a 30-second commercial, like not cool or new age. I just find it kind of bizarre, honestly.
We're sports people. We're used to it.
Exactly.
Like, I mean,
like we're used to it.
I'm not ever gonna be a person who's like, oh my God, can you get through this commercial over the second quarter? Now, if I'm at a game and everybody else is watching commercials, I get a little impatient, but even then, don't care that much. Okay, next.
I'd like to see what that poll says after the two tournaments are played.
Yeah.
Maybe it changes people's mind after they've seen it.
Yeah. With MOP turning 40 today, which Metallica album, which is Master of Puppets, is the GOAT? I'm not the person to answer this question because I'm only
Andrew just go into a big album store?
He did.
Like
He's
recently?
a huge. And look, I know all these albums. I'm just not. I like Enter Sandman. I like a couple of the other songs, but I'm not the biggest Metallica fan.
Oh, I saw MOP. I thought we were talking about Annie Up, but that's a whole different genre of music, and I'm not a Metallica fan. I like a couple of their songs or a few of their songs, like you said, Paul, but I'm not knowledgeable enough to go, oh, no, and Justice for All was definitely better than Master. I have no idea.
Nothing Else Matters is a fantastic song.
Yeah, there's a really good song.
I love it. I used to listen to, like, it was kind of in my actual mixtape or mix CD before football games.
Yeah, I like a number of their songs. I can't differentiate between their albums and know it well enough to do so.
I mean, like, it's not like I'm not a big enough fan. I'm not a hater at all. But I'm not a big enough fan to tell you, which Master of Puppets or Ride the Lightning was better. So
who'd you vote for?
I didn't vote for either of them. So yeah, I don't have a strong enough opinion to vote.
I voted for Master of Puppets. I just like the title.
If this was on the ballot today when I went to go cast my vote in the primary, I would have just been like, all right, what's the least?
Skip that one. I guess.
Skip it so it doesn't do it because I have no opinion on this at all.
Yeah, I wish I had a better answer, but at least 200 plus people had a good answer.
Like occasionally there's like a ballot measure about grain or something like that.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
No, I don't know.
Andrew Valade, who sends us texts, expects us to read them during the show. He himself doesn't look at the text messages.
Metallica was suggested by a viewer.
All right.
Okay. So there we go.
There we go.
A lot of metalheads maybe in
there. There we go. Well, we got a lot of feedback on that Beatles?
The Beatles, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then it was one last
yesterday
week.
Craig was the best Beatles album of all time.
Okay. Well, what one?
I believe the White Album won.
Okay, that figures.
But-
Yeah, I mean, but they got options. They got great options. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Andrew Valade.
No,
and
Abbey Road won.
Abbey Road. Okay.
Yeah, Abbey Road won. Sorry.
Makes sense.
Are you sure?
Yes, I am now.
All right. And Brandon Rowe, thank
No
you very
Revolver
much.
one.
Are
No,
you sure? No. And
Sergeant Peppers.
That was the list.
that's what
though.
I voted for.
That was the list.
That was the list. You're exactly right.
Yellow Submarine left off.
It was, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Did you ever figure out what album that Hey Jude is in?
Is on?
On?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't either. That was always, I just
but,
loved that song. It's long. I used to play it when I was at the radio station at SFA so I could go pee. I'd play that one or Inagata Davida.
Yeah.
I had time to do something. All right. Thank you again, Garrett Ross, too. Our sponsors, those of you who are here every day watching and being a part of wherever you are, thank you very much. Back tomorrow. Rick Neuheisel, Willie Fritz, and Stacy Dales tomorrow. That's 365 Sports. Have a great night and good night.